There we go. You'd fuck your car, TBH? For real? Oh no. First line of what he says is comms shut off in Gaza. Oh fuck. Alright, get in, sap heads. We've got 2 days left of this weekly. Now, what intro is he gonna play today? Let's see. Get in, sapheads. Let me go. Super auto pets. That's fucking insane, Ridvan. Go up here for sap as well. Alright. Live himbo, okay. Alright, I'll be back in a second. Just gonna go get myself a snack. We got 9 out of 16 SAP players in. Get in, SAP players. Come on, this is your moment. No, we will get LB ring. We're just doing 2 rounds of sap, then LB ring. Get in though, because we need to start on our sap. I'm actually going to change the volume over to Firefox because this is DMCA-able. There we go. Come on, SAP players, where are you? Where's Tiamani? Maybe Tiamani isn't around. It is a Friday after all. Oh, is this the White Lotus theme song? I didn't know that.
I'm Hassan Pike, and this is the Hassan Ever broadcast coming to you live from sunny California, Los Angeles.
Good next game, you're busy ATM.
Boys, girls, and
no worries.
Are having a fantastic one.
Okay, we'll start SAP in 2 minutes.
I want to dance around, and I want to do the classic like Friday thing and be like, it's Friday, you know what I mean? Saturday, Sunday. But I don't want to do that because it's not a very good Friday. I'll be honest with you. I even felt weird about playing the intro music as I normally do, because right now, as we are speaking, as we are talking, Kitchy88, thank you for the 25, get the subs. The IDF has cut off all comms on the ground in Gaza, and
that's insane.
Is most likely moving its ground troops into Gaza as well.
All comms. That's disgusting.
I am going to try my very best to get you live updates from the ground. I mean, we have very little information. This is the only thing disgusting. We have. Here's the Gaza City skyline. That buzzing that you're hearing is drones that are constantly above the city. Thank you to Marcius. So I feel weird. I feel odd, and it's hard to start to do my normal song and dance on Friday because the Immaculate Friday vibes are fucked right now. I'll be honest with you. But as far as personal news goes, I was supposed to go to a birthday party / Halloween party last night, but instead, because I'm feeling sick, I chose to stay behind and stay at home and watch Gen V instead. And also, this morning I worked out, and while I was doing my T's and Y's,
there's only one reason why you cut off comms. By the way, I'm starting SAP in 1 minute if you guys don't get in.
I did it without, and I feel like my legs were so shot over the course of this past week that I might have tweaked my lower back a little bit. Not like terribly, but I'm in a little bit of pain. CNN is on the ground from Israel's side. We can get some information on that front right now.
I think that just reinforces what the IDF have been warning the citizens here to be careful about, to stay close to their shelters, and it's indicative of the fact that the tempo of operations here is perhaps picking up. We've seen as well a couple of flares fired in the sky towards Gaza. We've seen those over recent nights, but again, you would expect flares to be fired close to or around troops in the field who want to get better visibility on what's the ground in front of them. It's illumination for troops in the field to see where the danger is, where the enemy may be hiding, Anderson.
Yeah, Nick, I think it's important in situations like this to point out what we do not know. We heard from Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the IDF, a short time ago, saying that the ground operation in Gaza is expanding. We do not know to what extent is it expanding. As Nick said, flares over Gaza, in a certain part of Gaza, would perhaps indicate troops on the ground or movement on the ground in armed
SAP started, by the way.
We have seen over the last day or two some operations, some very limited incursions to, according to the IDF, eliminate any munitions that might be in border areas, and also any reconnaissance posts, and to sort of soften the ground and level the ground for the next phase. General Wesley Clark is also joining us. General Clark, as you see those flares being fired into the air over parts of Gaza, and what you're hearing from the IDF, what do you make of what's going on?
I think what we have here is what we would call a reconnaissance in force, Anderson. That is to say, it's a large force. It's going in. It's looking to probe the enemy's defenses.
I don't have any words.
Collect intelligence, maybe take prisoners, maybe get into the tunnel complex, and it may or may not stay in. If they find that this is advantageous,
no, man. If yesterday's operations, are any yesterday, the IDF sent in a tank column. Okay, they sent in a fucking tank column and basically busted through. The only thing that they did was, I think, like, before this time around here, we're live, by the way. Here you go. Post it. Let the people know I'm live. Have you known the news about Motaz is asking for an international protection in his IG? I did not see that, but I'm not shocked by that, considering the Israeli occupying forces' proclivity to assassinate journalists, 22 so far, and their family members if they don't assassinate the journalists directly. It's understandable that journalists in Gaza, the remaining ones who haven't been fucking killed, would want some level of assurance or international protection.
I don't have any words,
I am
Chad.
talking to journalists who have contacts on the ground in Gaza, behind the scenes, and they are telling me that their WhatsApp messages are not going through, that they have no way of communicating with people that are currently on the ground. Okay? The internet is down. Comms are down. There's no information out of Gaza. It's just, this is done deliberately. They've shut off all matter of telecommunications coming out of Gaza, specifically so you don't know what is going on the ground. It's very difficult to get information right now. Isn't this a song covering breaking news? Yes, this is me covering breaking news. I love that that is what your main point of contention here is. It's not that like yeah, if it's a fucking mass shooting going on, I don't cover it. It's a little bit different when like an active ethnic cleansing campaign is occurring and I'm covering breaking news by giving you fucking CNN coverage on it. Are you that stupid that your immediate goal in this circumstance, a 15-month subscriber who's been in here for a year, is like trying to win a fucking semantics argument? I've said it already. Take a fucking week off, stupid. Like, I don't understand. There's obviously verifiable information from on the ground, okay? I'm not giving you casualty numbers right now that I just made up or some shit. It's ridiculous to be this fucking petty. I also told you I am talking to journalists with contacts on the fucking ground, okay? Who are saying that their communications are completely shut off. Like, they cannot get a single fucking piece of information from their contacts. When I start
Pokemon, I don't get it either. I don't understand it. I think sometimes people feel that being antagonistic is funny. And I feel like sometimes it's a way in which people express their humor, but they don't really see that it's not the correct time. But that is also me just giving people a very, in that circumstance, I'm being very kind.
What is life like on Bitch Island? I don't know, ask your mom.
To the chatter, you know? Anyway.
Command, the place where they
the
make
weekly's
the big
okay.
decisions.
It's better than the past two before.
Of Hamas, and as you heard earlier from the hospital, they're saying that there's 60,000 people there. Well, you know, it's impossible to evacuate a hospital of that size that is the biggest and really probably one of the last remaining that can offer services to any of those Palestinians, especially those that took refuge from the north based on...
Brother, you're an unserious person, and your goal.
I'll give charitability to people who've been subbed to Hassan for 15 months, of course, because sometimes we all post things in the chat that we think are going to be read in a particular way, but we don't have the cadence when we write down, right? We don't have inflection, and sometimes a joke that you think is just going to make things better is read as the worst thing ever, and you got to give people benefit of the doubt, especially if they've sort of stuck around in Hassan's community for so long, you know?
It's insane. Like, go fucking yell at CNN then, okay? Be like, wow, I can't believe CNN is reporting on this. I can't believe Al Jazeera is reporting on this. Anyway.
You got to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Here, there's a change in what we're seeing on the ground. It's not clear from what the army said whether that's going to be the next step. They have been saying that they're preparing for the next phase. He also said we call on residents of Gaza City to move south. Again, that's something we've been hearing often, that they plan to go into the north. They have sent foot soldiers. Very small groups have entered from time to time, potentially, possibly testing Hamas to see what kind of confrontation they're going to meet if they go in on the ground. Rob, Israel has an incredibly strong air force. From above, it's got US reinforcement that's providing a lot of those bombs that are being used, that are being dropped on Gaza. So we know that militarily it is strong because of the amount of aid. The biggest, largest amount of aid that the US provides is to Israel. Going in on foot,
that's fucking insane, by the way.
Different story, and
largest amount of
Hamas,
aid to Israel
has this underground network of tunnels that Israel,
Holy
despite
fuck.
surveillance, it seemed wasn't fully across. And the proof is in the fact that that attack happened on October the 7th and took it completely by surprise. I will say
the reports that this is why I cover fucking breaking news sometimes. Okay. This is one thing that I do all the time. Here's a good example. There are reports Israel's going to use nerve gas. No. Israel does violate international law by utilizing white phosphorus, for example. This is verified information from the Human Rights Watch. I wait when stuff like that comes out. I wait until there's a third-party verification. But no, the idea that they are going to be using nerve gas, American nerve gas especially, is wrong, is completely incorrect. That is a Middle East Eye coverage that you read that you thought was 100% true. It's not. They already have incredibly evil methods of mass murder that they're utilizing. They do not have to use. You look at the bombs that are exploding right now on the Gaza skyline. There's a reason why that skyline is fucking completely dark. These are all residential neighborhoods. Why are they completely dark? Because there's no fuel, because there's no electricity. Israel has shut off their fuel and electricity for the past 20 fucking days now. Israel has shut off their food for the past 20 days. Israel has shut off their water for the past 20 days. Okay?
In 1948 couldn't return, and still the Palestinian generations that came after that are still not able to return.
Sarah Kara talking to us in occupied East Jerusalem. Sarah, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Charles Stratford, who's in Ramallah for us for the latest there. We're focusing on Gaza at the moment, but of course a lot has been happening in the West Bank over the last couple of weeks. Talk us through what the latest is, Charlie.
Their incursion is from the northern side, okay?
So wait, if I do this,
entering near the northern side here. This is according to the Clash report. Israeli sources citing Palestinian reports claim IDF tanks have started to enter the east of Beit Hanun in the north of the Gaza Strip. This is from literally right now.
So will it give it extra? Okay, it does. Okay, cool. Well, that's good to know.
Okay.
You might be cool.
Raid. Of course, the Israelis
thank you. Now we just need a worm.
Come under fire themselves. We know that there are a lot of armed Palestinians in some of these areas as well. They call themselves the armed resistance, but 3 Palestinians killed there and at least 8 wounded, including 1 journalist. There were also clashes.
Well, I'm still getting owned by everyone in the chat
today. These are clashes that basically started as a result of youths throwing stones. That's a normal kind of Friday event, occurrence across the occupied Palestinian territory here. But of course, in the context of the war, things are a lot more difficult, a lot harsher. And according to the Palestinian Red Crescent, at least 71 people were wounded, 27 of them wounded by live fire. The Israeli soldiers seemingly increasingly using live ammunition, perhaps not unsurprising when we have heard in the last couple of days from the top Israeli commander in charge of operations here in the occupied West Bank, saying that the gloves were off now and that there would be a continuation of, in his words, raids to break terrorist nests. There have also been some demonstrations, quite a lot of demonstrations across the occupied West Bank today. Here in Ramallah, also in Hebron, and one that's south of Nablus. perhaps safe to say that smaller than expected, and it's being speculated one of the reasons why is because of the increasing amount of Israeli military roadblocks peppering the road systems across the occupied territories here. You know, it's been bad for years, but again, as a result of the war, movement is a lot more restricted than it has been in previous times. And another reason is basically because people are afraid. People are scared to go out and protest, to demonstrate, whether in support of the people in Gaza or whether it be.
Wait, what happened? Did my audio get turned off? I didn't mute. Is Hassan muted?
Oh shit, I'm muted.
Oh.
I didn't realize I was muted this whole time. Fuck.
No, it was him.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Second guessing
glad that
myself.
they have footage on the Al Shifa hospital right now. I'm glad that they have cameras on the Al Shifa hospital right now because that's a genuine fear that I have.
Oh no.
The IDF has called on the citizens of Gaza, the people of Gaza, to move south. Not that they're not going to bomb the southern positions. They have been, and they have consistently bombed civilian targets in southern positions this past week and even before. However, my major fear is the Al Shifa hospital. Why am I saying this? Well, because the IDF and even Benjamin Netanyahu released their like stupid ass, incredibly idiotic propaganda point saying like, oh, under the Al Shifa hospital is the Hamas headquarters. Now this has been a rumor for a very long time, except the problem is you can't fucking bomb a goddamn hospital because you consider it to be the headquarters of Hamas underneath it.
Yeah, that's literally a war
Now,
crime. Anyway,
obviously, Hamas does have a extensive tunnel network, okay? They have an extensive tunnel network. They do. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the original video. Oh, here it is.
I'm still getting cooked. Wow, okay. I didn't think I'd get cooked this early on.
There's no audio on this, but I don't know why. But here it is. Hamas/ISIS is sick, says Benjamin Netanyahu. They turn hospitals into headquarters for their terror. We just released intelligence proving it. Here it is. The intelligence that they fucking prove is just an illustration. Intelligence-based illustration video regarding Hamas's use of the Shifa hospital, both above. It's like all of their information is like this. Like every time they fucking post something like this, it's legitimately terrifying. Because guess what?
They're like, yeah. They're like, yeah.
I think it's a target that they're trying to justify before they fucking bomb it. That's what I'm afraid of. Now, obviously, we've seen this before. If you remember. Here it is. Where's that famous the famous image? Does anyone have that famous image in the Al Qaeda tunnel structure? Oh, here it is. Here it is. I mean, this image is the same as this image, except it's worse. Here's bin Laden's mountain fortress. The complex of caves at Tora Bora is carved 1,150 feet into a 13,000 feet mountain and can accommodate up to 1,000 people. Now, let me explain something to you, okay? The difference is the fucking Tora Bora tunnel structure is inside of a goddamn mountain. It's not sitting on top of a hospital, okay?
Fuck,
obviously,
dude.
This was completely made up and grossly
okay, well done.
exaggerated.
You guys all owned me.
Okay, it's just fucking fan fiction. And the same exists for this. Okay, like what are they? They got a conference room in here? They have a conference room in the fucking inside of the a tunnel structure under the hospital. It's fucking ridiculous. Now, ultimately, the difference is you fucking toss a Moab in here, okay? it's one thing. It's a goddamn mountain. You do the same for the Al Shifa Hospital. You got surgeons, nurses, doctors, patients, babies in incubators on top of this fucking supposed Hamas underground complex. That's why it is terrifying. Okay? That's why it's terrifying that they fucking drop this propaganda. Normally, in a situation like that, when Israel lies about a thing like this, you're like, oh fuck, they might bomb this place now. I feel like this is a pre-justification. Huh. Doctors Without Borders is also stationed at Shifa. Well, I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter because, one, Western forces have blown up Doctors Without Borders hospitals before. Look up Kunduz and Obama. Okay, that's number one. Number two, they've already blown up mainstream media positions. The Israeli government exploded a residential and business complex that housed the Associated Press office in Gaza. Okay, the Associated Press.
Yeah,
like we're not just talking about Al Jazeera. They've been murdering a shit ton of Palestinian journalists. Okay, I believe 22, and even their family members.
I remember
as a matter
Hassan
of fact.
covering that bombing and how insane it was, and how the media was pandering about, oh no, it's just a Hamas base. It's just, but literally just blowing up press headquarters.
Also used as shelters.
Like, it's so obvious, and the worst thing is, you do know that all of the media also knows that they literally, like, everyone knows when you are bombing press locations, you're trying to control the flow of information. It's that simple. It's not difficult to understand. It's probably one of the most basic things to understand in the world. Like, and that's why you know that Western media knows that they're lying. Because these motherfuckers are not stupid, okay? They're not brainwashed. That's what's scary about the media, is they are probably the individuals that are the least brainwashed. But they know what their funders want them to push. They get far more information than any of us do.
Ultimately, though,
they're just not good people.
Washington Post reporters cannot reach their colleagues in Gaza. Palestinian Red Crescent Society says it has lost contact with its medical teams, shutting off comms. Okay? Wait, what the fuck? Why did that... So broken. Shutting off comms doesn't just like...
You know why they're doing this? Because they know. Israel knows that... And I'm not talking about Israeli citizens, okay? Like, I want to keep that very clear.
Internally, inside of Gaza,
the Israeli state knows that they, in many ways, are losing the culture war more than they have before. They're still winning it, but they're losing it more than they have before. And so you cut off comms, so nobody can see the egregious crimes you are committing. What is going to happen to those babies in the incubators that don't have any fucking electricity?
Yes, people in horrifying conditions actually have higher birth rates. It's ridiculous to claim. People think, okay, here's one thing I want to explain here. Yes, they do.
People in horrific conditions
doing
do
a genocide is not as easy as people think it is. It's not just like you turn on the fucking genocide switch and then people die. It's not that easy to kill people, okay? That's why when hundreds of thousands of people die in one fucking act like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, okay, that's a devastating circumstance. That's like a uniquely evil moment in history, okay? Other than that, it's not very easy to just like slaughter and butcher people, okay? Because guess what? People inside of a fucking concentration camp still end up having children, okay? People still try to survive. They adapt to those gruesome conditions. So having...
As dark as it is, when people are in situations of poverty and in terrible conditions, they have more children. Because it's the innate... It is an innate ingrained thing inside of us to survive. Not maybe through ourselves, but through our children. It's a really terrible point that I don't like bringing up, but that is true. Like, people in horrific conditions, in these, they do have more children. But it's not a point that people would like to bring up more and more, because they'll say, oh, these people are so stupid, they're having more children. But do you have any idea? Yeah, more kids, more chance that somebody's gonna fucking survive.
If the murder rate is lower than the birth rate, then murder is okay. Exactly. Surely there would be some noticeable shift in the age of the population that would highlight the fact that genocide is still occurring despite an increase in population. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's like
yeah, I wonder
if there's like any indication. Like, for example, I don't know, maybe the fact that the
average age of Palestinians
the life expectancy in the Gaza Strip, literally like a couple miles off of this made up artificial boundary, is 10 years younger, okay, than the life expectancy in Israel proper. How did that work? How did that happen? They literally live right there. That is the greatest indication, okay? Life expectancy being 10 years younger in the Gaza Strip than Israel proper, when they are literally right on top of one another, have the fucking same diet, or supposedly are supposed to have the same diet. There's no difference between the life expectancy of North Dakota and South Dakota, okay?
No, Hassan, clip manufacturer, no, access to contraception is not, it's irrelevant in this instance. Okay? Because generally people are having children when they're in poverty, and they are in extreme situations because they want to have lots of children. Because they want to have... birth control can become a factor, but this is not the factor in this case that you want to focus on.
That's what it is. Also, ethnic displacement plays a role in this as well. Like, deliberate ethnic displacement plays a fucking role in this as well. If you want to understand the 10 stages of genocide, one, classification. All cultures have categories that distinguish people into us and them by ethnicity, race, religion, or nationality. German and Jew, Hutu and Tutsi. If societies are too segregated, divided, they're most likely to have genocide. The main way of preventing genocide at this early stage is to develop opportunities in society for people to work and live together who are from different ethnic, social, national, and religious backgrounds. Enforce diversity. Okay? This will allow people to become more tolerant, understanding of each other. It works.
It is similar to backpack battles.
In the United States, public schools serve this function, even though they are heavily segregated right now, as they were even before Brown v. Board of Education. At this point in time.
The reason why I pulled on your point specifically is because, and I said, no, that's not the correct way to look at it, is not to criticize you. It's to indicate to you that regardless of like level of access to birth control, you will see higher birth rates in populations that are in poverty. And I include Gaza in that circumstance. Because there is an innate... human beings want to survive. Okay? You have more children because it's more likely you'll be taken care of, or like they'll be taken care of, or that either one of them will survive. It might not be the most like logical thing, and I find, especially living in the country that I am living in right now, families in poverty do have more children, and I find I get very frustrated when like privileged South Africans comment on, it's a very racist thing, like privileged South Africans comment on like how much like black people in poverty have children, being like, wow, how are they going to take care of their kids, when you don't really understand at that point, like people are not really understanding. So this is why I'm like, I understand the point so well, because that is a very racist talking point from racist white South Africans in the country, being like, why, if these people are in poverty, why are they having so many children? Like, yeah, it happens here in the US all the time as well. Okay, good to know. I don't really know about the US, but like that is like what a lot of very racist South Africans will say.
unless they lead to the stage of dehumanization. When combined with hatred,
really?
symbols may be forced upon unwilling members of minority groups, the yellow star for Jews under the Nazi rule, the blue scarf for people from the Eastern Zone and Khmer Rouge, Cambodia. Sometimes we impose symbols on ourselves, like gangs using certain colors as a group's right, but sometimes backfires when they're discriminated against. Number 3, discrimination. Number 4, dehumanization.
It's good to know that's not just
Number
in South
5,
Africa
organization. Genocide is always organized, usually by state, though sometimes informally by terrorist groups. Special army units or militias are often trained and armed. Plans are made for genocidal killings. To combat this stage, membership in these militias should be outlawed. Their leaders should not be allowed to travel outside of their country, where they may be able to raise funds or get weapons. Now,
You broke up with a woman who said they have too many children. Good on you, Sis Sunbreak. It is a very racist dog whistle, I would say. It is incredibly racist to say that.
The IDF absolutely falls under this category, but it doesn't matter because America will always block.
Yeah, when white people use they, you know who they're talking about. Yes,
you have full-blown veto power.
And then and this is like where the whole immigration thing, where people are like, they're gonna have too many kids, and then you know what happens? Then the fucking like white supremacist thing comes out of, oh, they're going to do fucking white genocide, which is just a stupid way of that racist people say of people being the great replacement. Yeah. And all of that boils down to increased birth rates of people who are in poverty. You can like link all of that back to that one fact that people misinterpret and they apply the wrong analysis to.
First to be assassinated, or sidelined, if not assassinated,
right, let's go.
or sidelined,
Another
neutered,
game.
like the secular Palestinian Authority, for example. Prevention may like the.
I'm just saying to you guys, I do want to play Elden Ring today, but this news is really important. So I just don't want you guys to be upset with me if I end up not playing it. Okay? I hope you guys understand why. If I don't. I do want to. But I do, like, this is very important. Yeah, I'll wait 5 minutes. I just don't want you guys to be upset with me. I will literally start playing Elden Ring when I stream tomorrow. I just don't want people to be upset with me. This is just insanely important news. Yeah, okay. Because I can't really play Elden Ring with Hassan in the background.
If we don't kill them, they will kill us.
The fact that they cut off comms in Gaza is like...
Prevention of the preparation may include arms embargoes.
It's unimaginable.
We've already passed this step, by the way. This is the meta. We've already passed this step, and we didn't do the arms embargoes to Israel and commissions to enforce said arms embargoes. It should include prosecution of incitement and conspiracy to commit genocide, both crimes under Article 3 of the Genocide Convention.
Well, let me see when South Africa's playing tomorrow.
Persecution. Victims are identified and separated out because of their ethnic or religious identity. This already has been happening under a permit regime. There's 4 different IDs. There's 4 different classifications for 4 different IDs that restrict your freedom of movement greatly inside of Israel and inside of the occupied territory.
No, I'll stream tomorrow. I'll stream from like 1 p.m. Oh, did this pause? Oh, fuck, sorry. I need to refresh this. Hold on, I need to link something to his, I think. Hold on.
Inside of Israel and inside of the...
Fuck, what's happening to my internet? Anything else going on? Is Steam downloading something? No. No, nothing effed. It's happening to me too, LB. Oh, he effed? Okay, alright, cool. Just let me know when he's back. I need to get something for Hassan. Dom pass.
Territories is...
There we go. I just want to link the equivalent.
We're back.
There we go, he's back.
It's back. It's back. Refresh. classic, dude. Fucking classic, dude. I'm gonna be honest. I do not believe that this is because I do not believe that this is because I'm talking about the things I'm talking about, but instead because of pure incompetence from Twitch server side.
It is from that.
Okay. It did not go out for long enough that the stream time reset, but it still probably cut a bunch of people off. I mean, yeah, for sure it happened in Vegas too. No, that was different. Vegas was different. I'm here. Hold on.
Get in SAP though, by the way.
I have to do something.
Got 3 spaces open.
Wait, I think this is the right person. Okay, it is the right person. Okay. The link I need. Okay. Okay.
Oh, thanks.
We were looking at the
Sakuragor.
10 steps of genocide.
Oh, Sakuragor.
Number 8,
Hold on.
persecution.
I just need to
Victims are
message you
identified
quickly.
and
Hold on.
separated. Their property is often confiscated. Members of victim groups may be forced to wear identifying symbols. They don't do this, but you are forced to have a different license, a different identification. Okay? None of these things happen overnight, by the way. These things take years and years. And at least in the case of Israel, it's 56 years on top of 75 years of like the nation state and its development, but 56 solid years of this specifically. Okay? Because you cannot comprehend, because it's not very easy to figure out who's an Arab Palestinian or a Muslim and Christian versus who is an Israeli citizen, because it's not, it's not easy to tell. You can't, everybody looks the same. Many people are from this region to begin with. There are white Palestinians and there are plenty of brown Israelis. There's Arab Israelis, right? Jewish Arab Israelis. So you can't really figure out who the fuck is who. So you have to have a strict permit regime where every single person is identified with their IDs, and there are checkpoints everywhere that restrict freedom of movement to ensure that you don't have Palestinians. Ensure that you don't have Palestinians in areas that they're not allowed to be inside of. And in the West Bank, it's especially dire.
Got 1 space open, by the way.
In the West Bank, it's especially dire because it is, they have pass laws in apartheid South Africa. One of the laws I've talked about is the they had passed laws in apartheid South Africa. One of the things that I've talked about is like, because they wanted to figure out who is black, who even has a little bit of black in them, they would do this thing called the pencil test.
Yes, the pencil test.
Okay.
But they did other tests as well, like the pencil test.
It's in reverse because of the yarmulke. They can know who's not Israeli. No, that's not true. That's ridiculous. You think every fucking Jewish person wears a yarmulke? What are you, crazy? That's not how that works at all. No. What? No. Some of you guys are completely oblivious to how this shit works. No. They don't wear patches yet, but there is a reason for why they have this very strict, very rigorous permit structure, 2 separate license plates that don't allow you to drive on Israeli roads, and also IDs, 4 different kinds of identifications that stop you from
I'm gonna
going into
start SAP, by the way.
That is literally your land, by the way. Like, it's your home. Your West Bank is Palestinian. It's supposed to be Palestinian controlled. What? The Israeli occupying force currently occupies it and controls every aspect of people's lives there. There's no Hamas in the West Bank, but it doesn't matter. That hasn't stopped them from occupying it for 56 fucking
Israel
years.
does not represent Jewish people.
Anyway.
If it did represent Jewish people, then it would allow black Jewish people a right to return. Okay, no, not even that. Okay, I'm just saying, even if they did allow that, it would still not represent Jewish people. But I just want you to understand, like, that is a factor that you can use in saying, like, it definitely does not represent Jewish people. Even if it was, they fucking sterilized Ethiopian Jews, exactly.
There aren't guards internally inside of this concentration camp.
But even if they didn't,
it
like still wouldn't represent Jewish people. It's a bad thing for me to say that.
Concentration
that's
camps,
not
like
true.
like during the Holocaust. However, this does not change the reality that all matter of existence in Gaza is completely controlled by the Israeli government, despite the fact that they try to tell you that that is not the case. They'll be like, oh, 2005, we left Gaza.
Don't worry, Lily, we're going to play more.
Happened. It's bullshit.
The news is very important right now.
Israel bombed the airport in 2001. Okay? They never allowed an airport to be rebuilt there. There are no ports in Gaza. People in Gaza cannot go beyond a 6-mile line, which changes from time to time, actually. Gaza is basically a Bantustan, a ghetto, or a concentration camp. The structure in the West Bank, where there is an occupying force and its presence that they let you know if you listen to Breaking the Silence, for example, veterans from the IDF that now stand against the occupation because of the unjustifiable acts of cruelty and violence that they subjected Palestinians to, will often talk about this reality, like night raids that they engage in all over the West Bank deliberately, knowing full well that the people that are inside of these homes have not done anything. They do it because the process is called making your presence be known. They do it specifically so that everybody always knows that the Israeli forces can come into their house and fuck them up. It's not to capture terrorists at all. It is to specifically harass and apply pressure to the Palestinians living in the West Bank. Anyway, let's continue. They're confined to a famine-struck region or starved. Gaza and even the remaining parts of the West Bank are parts that Israel does not occupy, or rather still occupies, but allows Palestinians to live under. It's 25% of the West Bank. 100% of the West Bank is supposed to be Palestinian land, and yet they have overtaken, and as I've shown you step by step through the B'Tselem maps that we looked at, they've overtaken 75% of the West Bank by utilizing it as like military land, specifically taking over areas that are viable for the agrarian development of Palestinians that need it. Anyway.
Yeah, sure.
At this stage, there are acts of genocide because they intentionally destroy. Genocidal massacres begin. There are acts of genocide because they intentionally destroy part of a group. At this stage, a genocide emergency must be declared. If the political will of great powers, regional alliances, or the UN Security Council can be mobilized, armed international intervention should be prepared, or heavy assistance be provided to the victim groups to prepare for self-defense. Humanitarian assistance should be organized by the UN and private relief groups for the inevitable tide of refugees to come. We are already past this stage, okay? We are now in the extermination stage. Extermination and denial happening side by side, as a matter of fact. Extermination begins and quickly becomes the mass killings legally called genocide. It is extermination to the killers because they do not believe their victims to be fully human. See dehumanization. When it's sponsored by the government, the armed forces often work with private armies to do the killing. Except in this circumstance, it doesn't even have to be the private army. What? You didn't address the other point, the chatter who said aid wouldn't help the Palestinians about organizing, and that really, really merits the discussion? What? You didn't address the other point that the chatter who said aid wouldn't help Palestinians made about organizing. What do you mean? There's organizations happening right now. There is a tremendous amount of organizing. Look around you. There are massive fucking protests every goddamn day. Okay? There are massive protests every goddamn day in the Western world. Hundreds of thousands of people fucking throwing their bodies on the line in areas where it's illegal to do so. And yet, it does not matter. It doesn't change the reality that our leadership is not listening to anything that we're saying.
Hmm.
And yes, Central Committee is correct. There are private armies doing the killing in the West Bank. They have armed the extremist settler militias. You are correct on that front as well. You're right. But the other side of the extermination in the Gaza Strip is being conducted by the state, by the military. Okay? The Gaza Skyline stream just shut down. Wait, really? Oh, fuck. Literally just now? Oh, no. Okay, well, that's not good. Anyway, we've experienced all of the different stages that are in this document already, and we're continuously experiencing it.
This weekly is so difficult, I'm not gonna lie.
People in positions of power in the Western world and Western media in general know this. They know what's going on here. And yet, for some reason, why'd you say I have COVID? I do not have... Oh, you're talking about Central Committee. Okay.
Yeah, Central Committee does have COVID. He was in here earlier.
I think that people don't understand that if they continue doing this, and you see polling numbers like this, for example, percentage of people who agree or disagree that Canada should support Israel against Hamas by political party. 31% disagree on the liberal side. 46% agree that we should help Israel. On the conservatives, 44% agree that we should help Israel. And then the rest of it is 53% disagree. New Democrats, 54% disagree. Bloc Québécois, 60% disagree. And these guys are not exactly fans of Muslims in general. Like, think about that. Even the fucking Bloc Québécois is like, come on, dog. What the fuck are you doing? Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's spokesman reject calls for a ceasefire and says we will no longer live with this reality and that the war is not being fought to deter Hamas, but that instead we have decided that Hamas must be gone.
But
Bloc
how,
is literally isolationist,
I'm
but
just
not
never
out of the
gonna
question
win this
because they
weekly,
may see
ever.
themselves as colonized despite being French. Yeah, I know. That's why. I know. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. Like, how am I fucking gonna win this weekly? Haven't gotten a mouse yet. Have I got the ability to get a mouse? Yes, I do. Okay, I really need a mouse.
Let's continue. Sometimes the genocide results in revenge killings by groups against each other, creating the downward whirlpool-like cycle of mutual genocide, with the victims actually organize and commit a second genocide on the perpetrators. At this stage, only rapid and overwhelming armed intervention can stop the genocide. Real safe areas on refugee escape regions should be established with heavily armed international protection. The UN needs troops that can go in to genocidal areas and stop the killing when the UN Security Council calls it. The UN may decide to act through regional military forces from organizations like NATO. Relief groups should be prepared to assist the victims. Except what's going on right now? What's going on right now? The UN Security Council can't even fucking call for a ceasefire because America keeps vetoing it, and America is assisting the side that is conducting the ethnic cleansing. That's what we're doing right now. If the UN will not get involved directly, militarily powerful nations should provide the airlift equipment and financial means necessary for regional states to intervene with UN authorization. U.S. urges Israel against Gaza ground invasion and pushes a surgical campaign.
Yeah, this has been a tough weekly for me. It's fine. Next one, I'll be okay.
And the final stage is denial. Denial is the 10th stage that always follows genocide. It is among the surest indicators of further genocidal massacres. The perpetrators of genocide dig up the mass graves, burn the bodies, try to cover up the evidence, and intimidate the witnesses. They don't really need to do that at this stage, and you know, we're at the denial stage because America yesterday, by John Kirby's own fucking mouth, and also by the goddamn president, said that the numbers of the dead in Gaza are actually probably fake. That is genocide denial. Okay, that is genocide denial. I hope you understand that. They are already doing that.
God, Vola.
They're doing that already. You are watching an ethnic cleansing campaign be conducted in 4K
time.
pretty much.
Yep.
Or they're just fake. Yeah, dude. They're just fake, brother. How can you
and move on.
Explain to me how you think those numbers are fake, but you also simultaneously hear Israeli officials say we're fighting human animals and we're going to be indiscriminately bombing. Israeli officials go on television to say, I don't understand why people have any kind of empathy for Palestinians when they're all animals. That happened like 2 days ago on Sky TV. Or when the Israeli government itself literally posts photos flexing that they dropped 6,000 bombs on an area that is
just give me a second.
Small.
I just want to check if this is because Hassan never got to the point in the Nelson Mandela video where he speaks on Palestine. So we're just gonna watch this quickly. Because I'll link it because it could be good.
Tonight, the issues and the controversy. 1,000 people have gathered at the City College of New York for a town meeting with Nelson Mandela. Mr. Mandela, you're participating in what is a very old and honorable American tradition, the town meeting. And rather than waste any time with my questions, if they don't ask you good ones, I promise I will try to.
Those of us who share your struggle for human rights and against apartheid have been somewhat disappointed by the models of human rights that you have held up since being released in jail. You've met over the last 6 months 3 times with Yasser Arafat. Are these your models of leaders of human rights?
Yasser Arafat was, I think, the leader of the PLO. Which was it was the Palestinian Liberation Organization? Am I getting that acronym correctly?
And if so, would you want a Gaddafi or an Arafat or a Castro to be a future president of South Africa?
One of the mistakes which some political analysts make is to think that their enemies should be our enemies. Our attitude towards any country is determined by the attitude of that country to our struggle.
This is all in South African. This is not relevant to what Hassan's covering right now.
Yasser Arafat, Colonel Gaddafi, Fidel Castro, support our struggle to the hilt.
This is an amazing strat, Socialist Wizard.
In rhetoric. They are placing resources at our disposal for us to win this battle.
I have to run a 3-minute ad break, by the way.
That is the position.
Mr. Mandela, as I mentioned to you before the program, we also have some distinguished guests sitting behind us. One of whom, Mr. Henry Sigmund, together with 2 other Jewish leaders, came to Geneva to visit with you precisely because they were so concerned not only by the kind of thing that you just said before the break with regard to Yasser Arafat, with regard to Libya's Colonel Gaddafi, but also because of the support that you seemed at different times to give to the PLO. I would like to ask Mr. Sigmund to stand now for a moment and pose whatever question he would like directly to you. Mr. Sigmund?
I think I would be dishonest if I did not express profound disappointment with the answer that Mr. Mandela gave to the previous question, because it suggests a certain degree of amorality.
As far as Yasser Arafat is concerned, I explained to Mr. Sigmund that we identify with the PLO because just like ourselves, they are fighting for the right of self-determination.
Here, this is what I need to send.
Mr. Mandela, we have ripped through the first part of this broadcast extraordinarily quickly. There are still a number of issues that we have to take up with Mr. Mandela, not the least of them being sanctions by the United States against South Africa. We will continue with that in the Nightline segment of this broadcast. Just a quick break now. We'll be back. And we are back once again at the City College of New York with Nelson Mandela. And Mr. Mandela, we have just heard a number of the things that you said in our hour between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock this evening. Some controversial things, not the kinds of things necessarily
controversial
that a very political man says. If you were very political, you might have been more concerned about...
Motherfucker said what he's saying is not political.
Not alienating some people in this country who have it within their hands, within their power, either to continue sanctions against South Africa or to raise those sanctions, to lift them.
Okay, the main thing that is just the takeaway there is to indicate, like Nelson Mandela said, that he believes that they have a similar struggle in the right to self-determination. Like and that's what I just needed to indicate, because that was the important point. I don't really want to link that to Hassan to react to.
Yeah.
But it is a point
One
I do
of the
want
few
to bring
times
up.
the State Department has questioned the Gaza numbers because they thought the number was too low. 4th paragraph. Yeah. The State Department in the United States has always used the Gaza numbers as correct. These numbers have also been tested time and time again by human rights.
Squirrel Temper, that wasn't him calling him dumb. That was him saying you're not picking a side. You're being apolitical because you are not picking a side. You are asking for help from the United States, but you are also at the same time endorsing Gaddafi and Arafat at the same time. You're not being apolitical because you're fence-sitting. That's what he was saying. He was saying, you need to pick a side. Are you going to go with the commies or are you going to go with the capitalists, okay? And he was basically saying, like, you need to consider this in the votes that you're going to get in Congress, even though he's not a fucking, like, American politician. Which is why American politics, unfortunately, is global politics.
Could there be inaccuracies? Especially when, like,
and Nelson Mandela said, I am only interested in those who support South Africa. Your enemies are not my enemies. Anybody who helps us in the struggle against apartheid is my ally. This is why they even were allied with the IFP. which was a conservative, pro-monarchist, black political organization because of Zulu monarchy. And the IFP even had fucking ties with the Afrikaans Nazi party in South Africa because they both wanted their own like lands, a two-state solution. And what the NP tried to do was create fighting around the ANC and the IFP, even though they were both fighting against apartheid because they were both black political groups with very, very different stances. But fuck the IFP as well, even though they were still... But the thing is, the ANC was like, we still need them in the fight against apartheid.
In Israel, they are considering giving up a prisoner deal in favor of promoting the maneuver and estimate that the briefings by Hamas and Qatar on progress in the deal are intended to delay the operation. Yeah. This is like, they're saying Hamas is using the hostage swap as a mechanism to delay the operation that we want to conduct.
From the top of my building, I can see the flashes.
Oh my god, a journalist was able to get out of there and their SIM... this is the Turkish SIM card.
Navy shells and western part of Gaza City.
But also, Nelson Mandela did not want to say to an American audience that, oh yes, of course, like, support communist and socialist groups. It was very clever to instead say, I support those who support us in our emancipation. He kept on saying repeatedly throughout that town hall, do not get me involved in the politics of other countries. I am only interested in the politics of my country. You are either for the emancipation of my people, or you are not. It's that simple. And it was clever for him to do that because it meant he did not get bogged down by picking a side. When you have a world superpower, very, very anti-communist, and you are, in many ways, someone who is pro-communist, but because of the media, because of the protests about like what's happening in your country, you want to maintain the moral position that you are not supporting these groups because they are communist in nature, but because they are supporting you. And so that's why he's saying he's unpolitical, because he's not choosing the side between capitalism and communism.
And still, the whole...
It's a way to try and push him into a narrative.
The tunnel network underground.
Yes, they're trying to bait him.
To prevent
exactly.
Israelis from carrying out the ground operation. This means that...
Yes, in that town hall we looked, there were 3 questions that were not from right-wing conservative political pundits. We looked up all of them when we went through that town hall that took us 6 hours to go through.
Maneuver or can move and carry out their attacks whenever they want and the way they want.
Safwat, while I have you with us, just update us on the situation with the telecommunications lines, because we understand that people are disconnected from each other, and certainly they seem to be disconnected from the outside world.
Well, this point touched everybody in the Gaza Strip because more than 1.5 million of the population of Gaza have been moved from south to north and from north to south to seeking a shelter or seeking a safer place. So in the last 3 hours, people are unable to communicate or to stay in touch with their relatives, their parents.
Yes, they're trying to bait Mandela. Exactly.
Especially after every explosion, as they are used to doing during the 3 weeks of Israel.
They're basically asking him, "Are you a communist?"
Even our colleague
Nelson, are you a communist? Nelson, please tell us. The whole world is watching. America is voting on whether to sanction South Africa. Please tell us, are you a communist?
In touch with them and to make sure that they are still
in
alive.
1990.
No, people say we are still alive. Nobody says we are fine or we are good. So there is fear that this is a preparation for something bigger. But there is nobody knows what is this operation or the big operation or what is this bigger thing that's coming up. So the coming hours are important here for the Palestinians in Gaza to understand what the Israelis are preparing. From our experience, two options: either ground operation will start soon, or there is the negotiations that started for the prisoner swap will. We will see the results in the coming hours. So these are the two options that we understood from our past experience.
Okay, Safwat, we'll let you go for now. We thank you so much. That's Safwat Al-Kahlout reporting for us from Gaza. We are going to take you live to the United Nations. Look at this live picture right there. So the UN General Assembly is due to vote on a resolution, and this resolution calls for a humanitarian truce in Gaza. Which would
they can't even say ceasefire, so now they're calling it a humanitarian pause.
Israel and Hamas. So what we understand is going to happen is that there's going to be a first vote, in fact, on an amendment that Canada and the U.S. had wanted to add the word, quote, Hamas to the first on the amendment, and then the resolution will
for the
also
record,
be put
the
forward
reason
to
why
so once the voting begins, we will cross back to the United Nations.
The reason why they want to add Hamas, and Israel wants to add Hamas, but other nations don't, is because the victims overwhelmingly are not Hamas. The victims overwhelmingly are Palestinian civilians. This distinction must be made by the Western world to actively aid and abet in the ethnic cleansing campaign that Israel is currently engaging in. Okay? You got the condemnations for Hamas, so now you can say, oh, well, we're fighting Hamas. That's why all of the media covers this as not an Israel versus Palestinian affair, not as ethnic cleansing happening to Palestinians under an apartheid regime, which, by the way, both of those factors they regularly recognize under different circumstances, but that this is Israel versus Hamas. It is not Israel versus Hamas. It is simply a justification for their ethnic cleansing campaign. That's it. 3,000 children have been slaughtered by Israel since October 7th. Those kids are not Hamas. Okay?
Without a fundamental change, the people of Gaza will face an unprecedented avalanche of human suffering. Everyone must assume their responsibilities. This is a moment of truth. History will judge us.
Is it Devin's birthday
today,
chat?
We heard from the head of the government media office in Gaza, who spoke earlier at Al-Shifa hospital, and he strongly denied Israel's accusations that Hamas is using the hospital as a shield for its tunnels.
The hospital compound is home to more than 60,000 displaced persons, thousands of victims injured and patients, and thousands of medical crews, in addition to the relatives of the victims, along with the representatives of dozens of international media outlets. All this proves that the false allegation raised by the Israeli occupation forces are fabricated. They are targeting the medical facility that is providing
make no mistake, do I believe that there are tunnels under the Al-Shifa hospital? Sure. I mean, there's tunnels under everything in Gaza, okay? Do I think that that is ample justification for bombing that hospital? Abso-fucking-lutely not, okay? Abso-fucking-lutely not. That is insane. And also, the tunnel structure is not as, like, in the way that they describe it, right? This is, they're claiming that the Hamas headquarters is under the Al-Shifa hospital is just a rumor,
but there turns out the boys are fascist.
It's Devin's
just a
birthday
fucking
tomorrow,
rumor
but he's
that
not
they're
going
going along with.
Chat.
And it can be
So
a very
please,
deadly rumor, knowing
definitely
what
go
we
into
know
his chat
about how
and, like,
Israel operates.
Assembly is called to order.
Yeah, like, anyway, Legit Salvage, thank you for the resubscription as well. Like, definitely go in and, like, say, happy birthday.
The General Assembly will resume its consideration of Agenda Item 5, entitled Illegal Israeli Actions in Occupied East Jerusalem.
I'm a Canadian Israeli citizen. I volunteered for Doctors Without Borders in 2014 for 60 days in Gaza. The doctor that I worked with was confirmed in one of the Israeli bombings. I'm going to cry for the rest of the day. Thank you for doing your work. Sorry for your loss, my friend.
On agenda item this afternoon, The Assembly shall now proceed to consider draft
It's
resolution.
your birthday tomorrow, Mumblecat? Oh, remind me, please, so we can wish you happy birthday when I'm live. I'll be live for a bit tomorrow.
And amendment.
Anybody else joining for SAP?
Stroke ES10/L26. Before proceeding further, I would like to inform members that the draft resolution and the draft amendment
What's the chat to say? I wasn't
have closed for e-sponsorship. I now give the floor to the representative of the Secretariat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before the President gives the floor for explanations of vote before the vote, I should like to announce additional co-sponsors of both the two L documents. First, on L26. Since the submission of the draft resolution and in addition to the delegations listed on the L document, the foreign countries have also become co-sponsors of A/ES10/L25.
Oh God, okay, I see. Spoke about, okay, yeah.
Bear with us.
Oh, fuck.
Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria. No. Bear with us. Additional sponsors for L25. This is L25.
Oh, so are they voting on trying to get a ceasefire in Gaza? Okay, so everyone's going to vote for yes, and the US and Israel will vote for no. Okay.
State of Bolivia.
Like, this means nothing.
Botswana, Brunei Darussalam, Comoros, Cuba, Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Okay.
Djibouti.
Will be the same vote. It'll be the same vote.
Indonesia, Iraq, Jordan. So those were original sponsors. I'm
UK
very
will
sorry.
abstain, maybe.
Those were already on the L document. Additional co-sponsors are Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Chad, China, Gambia, Timor-Leste, and Uganda. Again, additional co-sponsors in addition to those on the L document are Azerbaijan, Bahamas, Chad, China, Gambia, Timor-Leste, and Uganda. If any other countries wish to co-sponsor L25.
Okay, we'll move away from that for just a moment and get some analysis with our diplomatic editor, James Bays, who's here with us in Doha. So, James, just talk us through what we were just listening to and what we expect to happen.
You're seeing how the General Assembly works, and it sometimes can be a little bit chaotic. We have two different things that are going to be put to the vote. We have the original draft resolution drawn up by the Arab group of countries at the United Nations, which is calling for an immediate, durable and sustained humanitarian truce. This is the resolution. What they've just done is go through the names, because some additional countries have said they want to sponsor this as well, and most notably China's added its name. Russia is already a sponsor, as is Turkey, as is a number of other key countries. That's the one resolution. Then there is an amendment. This is the amendment, which is also going to be voted on. This is an amendment that has been produced by Canada, and then we learnt a couple of hours ago that the US also are co-sponsoring this amendment. Now, why is there the amendment? We heard the US ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, said there were things that were missing from this resolution, and she said that was a clear condemnation of Hamas, naming Hamas, because Hamas is not named in the...
They can't do anything. The UN can't do anything. The Security Council gets veto. America has veto power, Chad.
The resolution also demands the safety, well-being and humane treatment of those captives being held. So those are the two votes we're going to see. It'll take some time, I think, the procedure. I think what we're also going to have, from what they've just said, is some additional some statements before...
The reason why they're adding Hamas into the equation...
I'm going to lose this again.
Okay. The reason why they're, well, not for the General Assembly, but the reason why they want to add Hamas into the equation every single time is so they can at least have some semblance of legal justification for the ethnic cleansing campaign.
Yep.
That's why, like, while Israeli officials oftentimes let the mask slip and will routinely tell you what their major goals are, while you have a right-wing Israeli think tank that is close to Benjamin Netanyahu openly stating their plan.
Has the UN ever just once, prevented a genocide? And I'm not saying to you this is fuck the UN, okay? Because I'm not one of those people where it's like fuck the UN. In general, the UN, normally, the popular vote is on the right side of these certain issues. But the UN is not a democracy. It's for the US to have some sort of semblance that the world has power over what they do. The UN doesn't mean anything. Fuck it, we'll try this. We'll get you afterwards. The UN doesn't mean anything.
That engaged in campaigns of mass slaughter and fucking mass rape, as a matter of fact. This battle is your copium. Were you in a fucking coma until October 7th? Were you born yesterday? Shut the fuck up. This battle. Your analysis is incorrect. And there is no actual historian or scholar.
No.
Or even...
No, that's NATO, Eshe. The UN is how the US justifies what it does. Because I don't think the Norman will know that the UN has veto power.
Is it okay? Is it okay when Israel fucking drops bombs? Is that why? Is that why it makes you feel better about it? 3,000 children being ruthlessly slaughtered by Israeli munitions? That's okay though, right?
I can imagine, Arun.
Bro, I support Palestine though. I'm Irish. I donate regularly. No, it's not. Suck my cock. Okay? You fucking bitch. I'm Irish. I donate regularly.
I'm getting owned again, yeah.
I don't give a fuck what you're saying. I don't give a fuck what you're donating to. First and foremost, your fucking forefathers fought against a colonial occupation as well. So suck my dick. You should at least look into your own goddamn history a little bit better. Okay? That's number one. That's number one. But that was justifiable, right? Why? Why? Is it because they're white? Is that why? Is it because perhaps that they're not Muslim? They're not Arab? Is that why? But not for terrorists. Yeah, dude, famously, the IRA wasn't considered terrorists. You know? They were considered, do you condemn the IRA? Do you condemn the IRA for its actions?
IRA was very violent.
Fucking idiot.
No, I know. It's very similar to what happened in Sri Lanka. From what you described, Arun.
The conversation is so silly. You go, Hamas sympathizer, they murdered civilians.
Fucking Irish.
It's disgusting.
Like, doesn't understand the fucking
they did,
colonization of his own country.
IRA plus Confederates?
Because of Western propaganda.
So how do you think... Wait. How do you think that that Ireland was liberated? How was it supposed to?
Did the IRA almost assassinate Thatcher?
What? Oh, you do not. Oh, you do not support the IRA. Wait, you're from? Are you? Wait, this is a troll. 100% confirmed. I can't. There's no way he's comparing the IRA to Confederates because guess what? It doesn't fucking make sense because the other side. The brigades on the Northern Irish side were the ones who openly, Sons of Ulster, openly fucking hype the Confederate side. IRA became terrorists after this vote. Oh, shut the fuck up, dude. Okay, whatever. This guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. Notice how he said you're a Hamas sympathizer without even fucking questioning what my perspective on the matter is. And then also on top of that, he does not ever have to talk about the 7,000 murdered by Israel. He does not have to talk about the 3,000 children murdered by Israel so far. And this is before the ground operation tonight. Okay? Ridiculous.
Oh, thank you.
Ridiculous.
Thank you
Why?
for that.
Because
I'm gonna link
those
it to
are
a song.
not actual humans. Those casualties can be denied.
Link it to
Those
a song. Thank you for
casualties
that.
can be hand waved away because they're simply enemy combatants, or they just got in the fucking way. Every single instance of fighting back against colonial occupation was considered by the supposedly decent and kind and elitist liberal intelligentsia as an act of terror. Okay? There are unjustifiable acts of violence that occurred in every single one of these circumstances. Okay? In every single one of these circumstances, both at the hands of the ANC against apartheid South Africa, both in the hands of the Algerian forces against colonial France in Algeria, both in the hands of the IRA against both the British forces and civilians living in Northern Ireland too. The Ulster Defense Force has no qualms about who they support throughout history. Yeah, literally. They have been on the wrong side every single time.
I need a mouse.
In every
Is it not
single
Mouse
battle.
City yet? Fuck, I need a mouse.
If your goal is to end the bloodshed, as is mine.
Okay, we
saw it last night. The IRA targeted civilians at a 35% rate. The Northern Irish forces targeted civilians at an 85% rate. My goal is to end the violence. My goal is to end the bloodshed permanently. Okay? Your goal is to continue it. If you come in here
Bro, I just
and
need a fucking mouse.
just try to hand wave away the endless amounts of bloodshed that we are watching right now in this clear definitional ethnic cleansing campaign that Israel is conducting in Gaza, okay? As it maintains its apartheid structure in the West Bank as well, you are not being productive in any meaningful capacity. Your goal is to just simply look away until the ethnic cleansing campaign is conducted and ends. It's ridiculous. I think it was Felix who said that the from the river to the sea line being considered. You're an apologist. Yeah. Oh, you're saying if you're doing that. Yeah. I think it was Felix who said from the river to the sea being considered like genocidal rhetoric is actually pure projection from individuals who recognize what they're doing is genocidal, what they're doing is ethnic cleansing. So they project and say, oh, the other side also must have that same genocidal ambitions that we do.
There we go.
Okay? That's it. When people say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, they're not talking about like killing every Jewish person that lives in Israel. They talk about the emancipation of Palestinians. Okay? Because Palestinians, if you recognize, are under an apartheid regime, an apartheid structure, living inside of a open-air prison, a concentration camp in Gaza, okay, and living under a brutal colonial occupation.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Propped up by settler terrorism in the West Bank, where no such Hamas exists, by the way. Okay? If you are in that, if you recognize that, then you have to understand that freeing Palestinians simply means ending this occupation, ending this apartheid. It does not mean killing Jews. But of course, the best you can do in that circumstance and maintain a centrist position in the face of ethnic cleansing going on, okay, and open ethnic cleansing going on, like promoted ethnic cleansing going on, deliberately talked about by officials that are engaging in the act of ethnic cleansing. The only way you can try to like hand wave that responsibility away is by going, well, people said glory to our martyrs, and I don't really understand what martyrs means, even though like babies are also considered martyrs. Okay, it's an entirely different fucking concept that you personally do not understand. So you go, oh, well, that's scary. They're saying martyrs, and martyrs means like, you know, terrorists, right? That's what that means, right? Or when you fucking hear about you hear in the news that like some dumbass at a fucking protest, at a Palestinian protest, like brought as a annoying nuisance, some dumbass at a fucking Palestinian protest brought like a Al-Qaeda flag or something, and you point to that to go, look, see, these guys don't deserve freedom. These guys don't deserve freedom. They're all terrorists. It is such an infantile way to argue on the basis of emancipation, like conditional emancipation. Like, what do you think? You think when I hear someone say actually anti-Semitic things that I do not agree with, that I think is fucking unjustifiable under every single circumstance, I am going to go and say, you know what? I was wrong, actually, that the Palestinian ethnic cleansing campaign should continue, that the apartheid regime should continue. What are you, fucking crazy? Fuck those people. But I'm not going to drop my fucking, I'm not going to drop my position no matter how hard you fucking hyper-focus on a bunch of dumbasses that are not reflective of the situation that is ongoing. Absolutely insane. Oh man, someone wrote Free Palestine on a wall at a college. That must mean it's anti-Semitic. It's ridiculous. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. It's anti-colonialism. Thank you. Exactly. I'm sick and tired of this fucking nonsense. When I criticize Saudi Arabia, I am not called Islamophobic. When I criticize Iran, I am not called anti-Shia. But when I criticize Israel, even though every single person knows that I have fought long and hard against anti-Semitism, because it is the inception of fascism. It's the perfect declaration of fascist ideology, that people immediately turn around and go, I don't know. I don't know. Seems like he's really fucked up. As Ofer Kasif said, our friend of the show, Dr. Ofer Kasif, said, anti-Semitism is a crime. Anti-Zionism is a duty. That's it.
To name it, and ending the power of terrorist organizations in the region has to be one of the steps that we can all agree needs to be taken. This is why I'm urging all of you to support this amendment, which brings balance to the resolution and names what must be named. What we are proposing is factual and it is fair. If our amendment is adopted, it will allow many member states to support the text as a whole, including Canada. Thank you, Mr. President.
Why did they specifically use the phrase that was intended to be about getting Jews out of Israel? Ridiculous, dude. Ridiculous. I don't know, man. I don't think that's how most people understand it. Yeah, dude. When people say from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, including Jews who say that, okay, like Jews in America or anti-apartheid activists, anti-Zionist activists say that, no matter what their background is, they're talking about ethnic cleansing. That's what they're talking about, right? This is ridiculous for two different reasons. Okay? One, it's ridiculous because it's a way to absolve the sins of the Israeli state, the sins of genocide and ethnic cleansing and mass ethnic displacement. The second reason why it's ridiculous is because there is no mechanism to do such a thing, regardless of whether or not there are people who wanted to do it to begin with. So it's already called into question, but there's no structure. There's no structure of enforcement. Whereas the structure of Holocaust, or not Holocaust, but genocide enforcement does very much exist in the Israeli state. They're doing it right now.
This weekly has been really hard. Like, even though, like, I've done the worst this weekly out of any other single weekly.
It's like looking at Black Lives Matter and thinking that it means the great replacement, guys. Okay? This and anger towards like any kind of sentiment that revolves around Palestinian emancipation, Palestinian liberation, and getting upset at that messaging and being afraid that it is like inherently anti-Semitic is no different than the way that white people get scared of the great replacement theory, the white genocide. Okay? It's not real. There is no white genocide, and yet there are still people who are genuinely afraid of white genocide. So what must we do? Should I take those people seriously? Should I act like white genocide is happening?
I don't understand how you guys get so good.
Is genocide actually being done by people, you know, peacefully coexisting and engaging in the act of miscegenation, which was illegal, and now it's not? What do we do? Why must we capitulate to uneducated opinions in the matter as an ethnic cleansing campaign is going on? Why? It is ridiculous. Proton Pack is a fucking federal agent. Okay, I think this is the one that's the anarchist guy. No, that's proletarian. That's the prol guy, not this guy. Never mind. Disagree on this, Hassan. That's not a good slogan to go with. People who pick defund the police defend another slogan with bad optics. I am going to fucking die, okay?
Oh my God.
No, I mistook you for someone else. You're not that guy. The other guy who constantly comes in here and tells me about NS content and how wonderful NS content is, okay? That's not you. That's a different guy. But he also chirps in this annoying way. Optics, optics, optics. Disagree with this one, Hassan. That's not a good slogan to go with. I love this, dude. I love the optics of the situation. Yeah, brother. Defund the police is bad optics. That's why it lost, right? That's why it lost the battle, and not because the billions of dollars of fucking media that was planted against it, that have been engaging in this like act of deliberately misinforming the American population about how police were defunded, even though they were not, and how crime has skyrocketed, even though it has not. If you look at the optics of a situation as Gaza is being raised, okay, and going, I don't know, man. Palestine should be free, seems anti-Semitic. Why? Because, I don't know, that's what people say it is. Then you are not a serious person. Like, let me tell you what's bad optics, dude. Genocide, okay? Let me tell you what's bad optics. Cops killing 1,000 fucking civilians a year. But you are nitpicking
optics,
the fucking
Andy's
side
bro.
that is being butchered. The side that is being slaughtered and their supporters. How can you say you are serious about social justice when that is what you are doing? I personally understand that it is important in the Western world, if you are in the Western world and if you're advocating for a certain position, if you're advocating for Palestinian emancipation, you have to be very careful not to have your words be misconstrued. I personally despise when people go around and fucking rip the posters of the missing Israeli people. Okay? I think it's gross.
And it's gross.
I understand that. But I'm not going to sit here and spend a tremendous amount of time yelling at those fucking dumbasses because I know that this has nothing to do.
What Hassan essentially is saying is like, stop acting on reactionary politics that is inflaming genocide with your own reactionary politics. Maybe I'm saying it incorrectly. But he's basically saying, like, don't be reactionary back. Because what you're failing to comprehend is that, yes, it is fucking terrible that Jewish people were murdered by Hamas. And they were. But by going and ripping down posters of missing people in missing like Jewish people, you're being reactionary back. You're not actually supporting any cause except for inflaming both sides more.
Fucking college campuses say things that scared me. From varying degrees, are there anti-Semitic people that are taking advantage of these protests? Abso-fucking-lutely. Are there people who are doing ridiculous things, like ripping up posters with missing Israeli children and missing Israeli civilians on them? It's ridiculous to do such a thing. Of course. It's gross. But you see that and you go, guess what, dude? I just can't say no to ethnic cleansing now. You're a fucking coward and a psychopath.
Foreshadowing is
you were just looking for any reason to just say, I'm sorry, ethnic cleansing has to happen. You are no different than Joe Biden in that situation. Okay? No decent person would agree with that, but people are specifically being criticized about a slogan that does not need to be tied to push for freedom. Jesus Christ, dude, you're still doing it. You're still doing it. It's ridiculous.
Look, Israel was attacked on October 7.
I don't think ripping up fascist propaganda to make you think what Israel is doing is okay is bad personally. No, dude, it's fucking ridiculous. You live in America, okay? You live in motherfucking America. We are responsible for this ethnic cleansing campaign happening.
Like, it has no nuance in it. Like, ripping up those posters is like basically saying like...
poster was ripped apart, that people would still make these same inferences.
You aren't
because people are desperate to try to justify the ongoing
changing people's perspective on the humanity of your cause.
Act of resistance is ridiculous.
Because people still died.
Those are still babies, okay? Those are still Israeli civilians. Like, think about the grandmother, that the 85-year-old grandmother that Hamas, the Al-Qassam brigades, released into the Rafah border. Think about how kind of an individual she is, okay? She has spent most of her fucking life in a settler colonial state. Understandable, okay? This part is true. But she spent most of her fucking life transporting Palestinians that need desperately to get cancer, to get cancer treatment into Israel. There are decent humans. You're fucking ridiculous. Come on. It's fucking insane to just say, oh, sorry. Every single Israeli is an enemy combatant. It's ridiculous.
It is. And I've spoken, when I covered the fucking H3H3 podcast, a lot of you were in here. You understand why I was very strict on people being reactionary, on people being rude and unnecessarily mean about people who have fallen for propaganda. Yes, it's what the IDF is doing to Palestinians, but you aren't going to... What I'm trying to explain is that me saying that is not saying that the IDF is justified in any way. But don't put the blame on the Hila video ending up. That is wild. That's disgusting. Like, I saw people on fucking Twitter being like, Hila should have never served in the IDF, when like Hila literally like was an Israeli citizen. If you don't serve in the IDF, you go to jail. And I saw people in Hastwit being like, look at this one Taylor Swift account who went to jail because they didn't want to fight in the IDF. And it's like, yeah, sure, but not everybody has the fucking privilege to fucking do that. No. It wasn't just Hascourt being unhinged, okay? Hastwit was far more unhinged, okay? No, Fallen Empire, it's not the main reason that Leftovers is on break. That's also another jump to... Oh, someone recorded it, sent it to Ethan? Okay. Oh my god. You see, but that is the issue, is like, Leftovers was really good. Like, that Leftovers episode, so much ground was covered. Like, Ethan did understand that he had been too harsh on Twitter to pro-Palestinian voices. He did finally get that, like, it was too much what he was saying, and he did actually gain, like, not fully, but I can't believe that's so fucked that happened. I really wish they'd moderated that harder. Because if that's why Leftovers is on break, that's insane. No, leftists can be unreasonable, but... No. I will say this. If you are someone who wants to promote your cause, there is something you really need to understand, and this is why Hassan is so good at what he does, okay? Now, a lot of you might say, call me a simp, but the thing is, when Hassan sits down with someone who is a Norman, like Ethan Klein, who might have a reactionary position on shit that Hassan really disagrees with, he doesn't just dunk on him, okay? He sits down and he tries to understand where he's coming from. Because, as I've said time and time again, no one is immune to propaganda. If people are show a willingness to learn another perspective, then don't jump on the dog pile of trying to bring up shit in their past. Because it is, if Hascord really did have that posted of Ela in the IDF, that is disgusting. Because Ela has herself said she denounces the IDF and she denounces the actions. Now, maybe not to the same extent that we do. Maybe she still feels, because of the fact that she is Israeli and she's lived under Israeli propaganda for her entire life, until moving to the United States, maybe she still believes that the IDF is actually a good cause. That isn't necessarily... You're not going to change Ila's mind by dunking on her. By saying, fuck you, for being part of the IDF, even though there's conscription. My father was a part of the South African military because there was conscription during apartheid South Africa. Now, my father, he is a special case. He didn't have to fight any wars. He could sing, so he was in a group called the Canaries. There is a movie about it. It was a very, turned out to be a very gay group, even though my father is not gay, but he met a lot of gay men in that group. All right? And so he didn't have to fight. They would tour around to various different groups, singing for them, bringing up the morale of the troops. Okay? But if you were to say, like, fuck my dad, you anti-apartheid piece of shit, for being a member of the South African military during apartheid South Africa, which did enforce apartheid, then you're being ridiculous. Didn't have a fucking choice. It's conscription. Regardless, my father thinks apartheid was terrible. Maybe he doesn't think it to the same extent I do. Okay, he is a fucking boomer, and we're not quite there. But it's the same you can apply to Ela and Ethan. You have to understand, like, no one is immune to propaganda. The fact that you have the opinion you do does not mean that you have to expect everybody else to have the same opinion you do or have the facts that you do. Bro, I made a fucking tweet about this. I'm going to read it out again because it's really important. I'm seeing a lot of this shit in the chat, and I really want people, if anybody engaged in that dogpiling that ended up putting Leftovers on pause, I think you need to understand, like, that is it's deteriorating the narrative that you not even, and I'm not even talking about optically. It's like it's making people not want to try and understand why you are on the cause for Palestinian emancipation. It's making people want to dive further into the biases that they have against Palestinian people. When you are reactionary, everybody just hardens their own beliefs. Yeah. It is gross because these motherfuckers are, to the most part, American, and they had to unlearn these kinds of propaganda to be a leftist. And that is one of the biggest issues I have with American leftists, because American leftists love to dunk on people that are in other countries, especially, or from other countries especially, that are not as leftier as thou. And it really fucking pisses me off. And this is why I respect Hassan so much for his ability to be so, I'm not saying respectful, but so even tempered and calm when talking to these people, like Ethan, about these issues, like Ethan Klein, because at the end of the day, Ethan Klein is not someone who is not willing to listen, okay? He might post some reactionary stuff on Instagram. Fuck it. Why are you getting upset about that, bro? He still has been, like, exposed to this insane propaganda for his entire life. That doesn't take an entire day to undo, but he has shown that he is willing to change, okay? And this is what I wrote, and I'm going to read it out one time for you guys. After that H3 podcast. I really wish people would take a step back and try to put things into perspective before needlessly demonizing people. Not everyone has the informed perspective. You can't fight reactionary thinking by being reactionary back. A lot of you are acting like children. People are not perfect, and I'm very certain most of you have had bad, if not terrible, reactionary takes in the past. What changed your mind? Was it someone dunking on you on Twitter, or was it someone explaining things to you calmly without personal attacks? In the words of Michael Brooks, be kind to people, be ruthless to systems. You are no benefit to the left if you can't give those who are uninformed the dignity of being able to change. One thing you might have forgotten, no one is immune to propaganda. Do not act like you are above it. Treat people who have fallen for right-wing propaganda but show a capacity for change with empathy. Attacking someone will only embolden their beliefs. Okay? And well done to Tor and Blink for winning. And I believe that, and that's why I get fucking pissed off with people bringing up Ethan Klein and leftovers in this whole conversation.
We are here because
it's so childish.
Mr. Ambassador, we are not here because of October 7th. Some of us has a bit of a longer memory than 20 days.
I can't stand it.
Marwan, let me just jump in there for a moment, because we now understand that General Assembly resolution has been approved. I'm going to bring in our diplomatic editor, James Bays, in a moment, and he'll talk us through some of the numbers. But I'm reading right now that it's been approved. This resolution calls for a humanitarian truce in Gaza.
No, exactly, Ridwan.
What's your response to that, and what message is
obviously, I always preface this by saying I don't like making this about myself, but this is an anecdote that is very similar to explain. I get very pissed off with people who dunk on me for being South African if they are not themselves black South Africans, okay? It's completely fine if a black South African dunks on me and hates on me for being white, because I am a representation of the oppression of their people. But if a white American, or even I'd go as far as to say, like, anybody living in the West, dunks on me because of the fact that I'm a white South African, I would get very annoyed, because you're engaging in reactionary nationalist rhetoric by saying that you think I am sort of lesser than or someone who is not, my opinion is not to be respected, you are basically saying that your opinion is further to be respected, is to be better respected than mine is. And that really pisses me off because you are judging me based on nationalist identity. And it's a very sort of similar thing. Anyway, I saw a white person lecturing a Palestinian academic about how there's a genocide happening right now. Oh god, okay. That is disgusting, Arun. Anyway, that's bad for me to talk about right now. I'm just considering with an anecdote from my own sort of perspective. But I just have had a lot of people like judging me just based off of where I come from. And it is very important not to do that outright, not to have that reactionary like take. Yes, I've had Americans tell me, don't get me started on your caste system and your fascist country as if I don't oppose fascism. Yes, that would be a similar sort of thing as what I'm talking about. Like, there have been people who've been banned in Hassan's chat for basically telling me that I need to, like, leave my country. And that my existence is racism in action, essentially. Anyway. It's entirely, and normally they're American, which is really fucking irritating. Anyway. Okay, but they did the same thing? What do you mean? Anyway, let's continue.
Reactionary
Oh, they did the same thing. Native American. Yeah. I know. But I even bring that up like.
Well,
that's why like. In this sort of rhetoric, it's never good to bring up like, for example, that's why I spoke about before. Like, it's unproductive to bring up the Nakba in this current conflict because it's too polarizing to get people to support Palestinians. Yeah, Haskell had to tell people not to be racist towards Indians when Hindu nationalists were bootlicking Israel. Fuck, that's disgusting. That is fucking disgusting, Arun. Jesus fucking Christ. Also, I want everybody just to be aware, like, what happens on Haskell happens 300 times as much on Twitter. So please don't act like it's just fucking, I really can't stand it, when... What do you call about calling white people colonizing settlers? I would say if it's a black South African, then I would take it on the chin. Okay? But if it's an American calling me a colonizer and settler, I'd be like, please can you take a look at yourself? Okay? I can't help where I was born. Neither can you. What about Australians? You see, then it becomes a blame game. And when you start the blame game, no one is going to agree with one another. Everybody's just going to get more and more upset. It's reactionary, okay? That's why it's never good to go there in the first place. Everyone right now is probably living on what we would call stolen land. And don't act like you're above it just because of your race. Or your nationality, because that is engaging in nationalistic rhetoric. All right, let's turn Hassan back on.
There's no proper way to resist against an apartheid, resist against colonial occupation. I just want you to understand, there's no perfect way to do it, okay? That's why on the optics side, although I draw lines on what I think is like permissible and what I think is ridiculous and also immoral and unproductive, there's a line I won't cross, okay?
You mean in South Africa?
And the line I won't cross is like saying, oh, well, from the river to the sea is genocidal. It's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. Straight up.
They did oust a more brutal regime, the Taliban. There was
that wasn't even a worrying.
Bro, like, I don't think you guys understand. Like most, like Black South Africans, if I was to say to them, yeah, Americans think of me as like a settler colonialist, would start laughing. They'd be like, bro, like, you just live here. Like, you didn't write apartheid. You know, as long as you're not being actively racist. Anyway, but it's obviously more complicated than that, because obviously if like a Black South African was to say to me, you're a colonial settler, then I would take it. Because my existence does represent their oppression. I just get irritated when Westerners try to criticize me for the place I was born in. Oh fuck, I paused it by mistake. Did he F again? Oh yeah, you did. Anyway. Let's just refresh and see. Yeah. No, it is. No, I know, Jason, it was. But I still won't, like, ever, like... As I've said,
dude. God fucking
if a Black South African was to say that I am a symbol of their oppression and that I am a colonialist, then I would take it. I would not respond to it. Because that comes from generational pain of being oppressed. Okay? Has that ever happened? No. Not once in my entire life has a Black South African ever called me a colonialist or a settler. Never once. But it's happened like 10 times by Americans online. Like, so many fucking times.
All right, let's see. I'm going to start tracking the packet loss.
Okay. Are you guys getting in for SAP?
Fuck. Ay, 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 dude. This one was a short one. Luckily, this was a tiny one. Okay?
Because I'm going to start now. But I need to run an ad break. 3 minutes to the top of the hour. Yes, no, Jason, white libs say that because, unfortunately, when you're an American, and white liberals will say that because it makes them feel, and this is a very, like, psychological argument I'm putting out here, but I believe it to be true. I feel like white liberals feel that it makes them feel better putting down other white people in other countries for being more racist than they are. Sure, we'll have a look in a bit. Or maybe tomorrow. Just send it to me tomorrow if I forget. Alright? Oh, you got an F again. Oh, maybe it's just me this time. It is just me this time. Is this on effing again? No, it's fine.
Like, do you think the Germans didn't fucking put up a reasonable reason as to why they were combating the Jews amongst their ranks? Of course they did. It was bullshit.
Twitch is load shedding.
But from the logical confines that they cultivated for themselves, it made sense. This does not mean that it was right. This does not mean that it was moral. Of course it was immoral and unjustifiable. But it doesn't change the reality that they didn't just go, yeah, Jews are bad. And everyone was like, yeah, I agree, actually. Okay? Like, that's not, you're oversimplifying it. That's why it's really important to understand
Okay, get in for SAP. We're going to start in like a minute.
It's really, really important to understand how the Holocaust happened, specifically so you don't fucking commit it again, okay? That's what Never Again is all about.
Oh, I'm sure you're tired, Sakuragor. From your tattoo. Yeah, typing with one hand. Got the box done too? Aw. Bro. So, oh my god, did he F again? Hold the line. Hold on. We're waiting. Tell me when he's back, everyone. We're starting SAP. He back? He muted?
Paste the output of the MTR.
Or is he doing tech support now?
There it is. It's cutting off on the LAX server side. Tracking it actively.
Bye, Kanzanani.
While
Have a wonderful weekend. I hope the Bucks win.
OBS.
It could just be a
Dude,
Hassan
I'm
thing.
here. Fucking refresh, man. Oh, fuck! Fuck! God damn it, dude. Fuck!
He angry now. Yeah, it's South Africa versus New Zealand. The nation is on tenterhooks. Oh, come on.
Ay, ay, ay.
Come on.
This is so fucking disgusting, dude.
Jingoists like Kaplan is comparing atrocities by various countries. What honest people are saying is that we should pay attention to our own crimes and stop committing them. This would be true even if we were killing one person. Okay? And it's even more true when we're killing millions of people. What are the just causes? What was the just cause in, for example, slaughtering Kurds in southeastern Turkey? What was the just cause? What was the just cause in supporting Suharto when he killed a couple 100,000 landless peasants in Indonesia, went on to become one of the biggest torturers in the world, and then destroyed...
I hate so many fucking motherfuckers still in the chat who just have not refreshed and think that I am not live. I'm losing my fucking mind. Like, there's so many goddamn stupid fucking morons in the chat like, he's not up for me. Just fucking refresh. You can't hear me right now because it's effed. I know it's effed. I don't know what to do, okay? There's nothing I can do. I'm perfectly fine every fucking day of the goddamn week, but the moment that I'm covering what the fuck is going on right now, all hell fucking breaks loose. And my internet is perfectly fine too. My internet is perfectly fine. It's just uninterrupted. Fuck.
Oh my god. People are so annoying. Chat is being like, calm down, as if they're not going to immediately get banned for saying that.
I don't think that the Twitch app is broken. I was on mobile and it didn't work for like 2 minutes.
Yes.
I want you to understand something.
But the thing is, in order to do that, Lily, he has to end stream.
There's some shit, okay? I think it's just regular sheer incompetence on the fucking Twitch side.
I switch my servers whenever I get Fs, okay? In order to switch servers, you have to end the stream. He is not going to end the stream for that.
Gives a shit about me like that. Okay?
What's Jason? There are no South African servers.
This is the L25.
Did I enjoy this? Okay, we'll have a look at it in a bit. Okay, can I get the thing yet? No. Bro, come on. Oh fuck, I meant to give it to the... Oh, okay, it's fine. What's this? Community notes violating people?
Crazy how chatters think the State Department has it out for you. Yeah. Is there a way to tell if you're getting DDoS? Yes, there is. My internet would not work. I would have no speeds. I have consistent up and down speeds.
Okay, we'll have a look at that in a second. I'll bookmark
every single time. Okay? I have consistent upload speeds and I have consistent download speeds. So
no,
somewhere along the trajectory, I am experiencing packet loss.
I know that you're trying to help with that, Lily, but he would he can't switch servers without ending the stream, so he's not going to do it. I've thought about this many times.
Here's Trey Yings, who's the Fox News guy. He's deployed with the IDF.
You can hear that machine gun fire here near to the Gaza border. Some tracer rounds going there. You can just get a sense of how active this front is. Those thuds in the distance, the airstrikes are really non-stop.
But now I'm getting
past several hours. And we do expect this to continue. The Israeli military says they are conducting an expanded raid into the Strip.
He has a press vest. He should be careful. Yeah, he's deployed with them, so. Check the last Fox News. This dude is like 100 meters away from Crossfire. Yeah.
Fuck.
Birleşmiş Milletler Genel Kurulu'nda Gazze şeridinde ateşkes için hayır oyunu veren 14 ülke. Here are the 14 countries that said no, voted no on the ceasefire resolution, L25. The United States, Austria.
Of course the US did.
The Czech Republic, Czechia. Fiji, Guatemala, Hungary, Israel, Marshall Islands, Micronesia, Nauru, Papua New Guinea. Am I saying it right? Paraguay and Tonga. And also, I was going to say Croatia. Croatia.
Uruguay. Tunisia. Croatia. Tunisia was the best. None of these countries surprise me. They're all capitulating to what the US wants.
Did Turkey veto it? No.
And I don't blame them for it. They're tiny countries. Bro, come on. Oh, am I just gonna lose again?
They killed her. They lied about it. They attacked her funeral, and now they bulldozed the street in Jenin during a raid and destroyed the memorial built in her memory for Shireen Abu Akleh. They did this yesterday. Yesterday, they went in and bulldozed the fucking, destroyed the raid, in a raid, destroyed the memorial built for Shireen Abu Akleh. Okay.
Come on, I just wanted one.
Where do you think internal Israeli politics will be after this war? I don't know. There's a lot of fucking... There are a lot of forces at play here. There's a lot of interior confusion and anger. But Israeli politics has always moved in one direction and one direction only. And that is right-wing. Okay? So... I think ultimately, like, Benjamin Netanyahu will go, right? But that doesn't change the reality that every other prior Israeli government has also had the exact same fucking attitude. Maybe not as gross and as open about Likud or Benjamin Netanyahu, but ultimately they are still absolutely championing the same exact horrifying ways of dealing with the Palestinians in the West Bank, and the same exact horrifying ways of dealing with Palestinians in Gaza. There are some differences in opinion, but most of them are just far right to super far right.
But how have I not managed to crack how to win this weekly?
Here.
I don't get it. Like, I'm not bad at this fucking game. Like, you guys know, I'm not bad at SAP. I understand the game pretty well. How am I so bad at it? I literally don't understand. No, I'm not Squirrel Temporary. You can ask, motherfuckers. They think I'm cracked.
Here, I wanna watch this now that we
sometimes
finish this goddamn Noam Chomsky video without 8 different interruptions by my internet fucking getting destroyed.
Come on, I just need the one thing, bro. No,
like the slaughtered third of the population of East Timor.
Fuck you guys. I'm doing Turtle Pack after this just to prove a point.
Invaded South Vietnam 40 years ago, ending up killing millions of people, leaving the country devastated. They're still dying from chemical warfare. What was the just cause?
It's all about the one
thing.
Can
I continue? Yeah, the just cause for people like Kaplan is we did it. Therefore, it's a just cause. You can.
I just want the fucking mouse, bro.
Post Free Palestine. Yeah, I know. I mean, that's going to happen. Sorry, forgot about your rule about no live events. Al Jazeera stream. No, man. Of course I cover ongoing active conflict, man. Oh my God.
Not in this weekly.
There are
6.
things that
this
I
weekly,
cover
I
that
always
are
got
happening
early
in real time. And there are sources I rely on in my coverage when they're happening in real time.
That while Palestinians are glued to the news, watching what's happening, they expect
like, yeah, I'm out.
from the United Nations.
I don't get it. We're playing with fucking Turtle Pack after this. I need to prove a point.
They've been left alone dealing with one of the strongest armies in the world.
Okay, Nida, thank you so much for that update. Let's now cross back to the United Nations and listen to what the Palestinian ambassador have to say.
I'm also like not even joking. Like, I'm a pretty good SAP player, but this weekly I just can't get it.
More killing of children, more killing of civilians, more destruction.
I think the point has been proven already.
Hospitals, more failing of being able to have the sustenance
yes, that emote
of
is from
human
SAP.
beings, and we will be with them.
I will show you. We're going to do Turtle Pack after this.
We will continue knocking on the door of the Security Council. We need to go to the General Assembly if we need, and we will keep working with the Secretary General
holy cow too.
and the President of the General Assembly in order to stop this war against the 2.3 million Palestinians.
No, I'm not. And I'm no Torin Blink. I'm no Torin Blink, but I've never been knocked out this early in SAP ever for a weekly. I just don't get it. Sometimes things just don't click with you, I guess. I don't want to be NL so bad, okay? I'm always very open when I'm bad about games, okay? This is a game that I'm mid at, but I normally would not be knocked out this early for any fucking weekly beforehand.
And no one is fucking doing that. There are so many outlets that just
normally
refuse to do that.
I always,
and that plays a role in shaping public consciousness in this ethnic cleansing campaign. He's right about that.
I think so too, Reina.
There's a reason why it's devastating when a lot of the mainstream outlets immediately take whatever the IDF said, even though they have shown consistently that they're in the wrong, and have routinely provided information that gets quickly falsified, okay? And then the people that engage in murderous acts are not even fucking punished months later.
Okay, I'm gonna
down
go get
the
my
line
stuff.
when
I'll
they
be back in a
openly
second.
admit that they actually did engage in this murderous act. Cry about it, you say. Brother, I cry about it because I have a conscience. You don't cry about it because you're a fucking demon. Like, it's fine. You will never be able to rest easy, okay? When all is said and done, when you put your fucking head at that pillow, those dead Palestinians will haunt you, okay? And if it doesn't, if you don't even fucking think about it, then you're a disgusting, monstrous piece of shit anyway. You're just a sociopathic piece of shit. An army of Bauer's clones is doing their best to end all life in Gaza, and the most you can do is offer suggesting a brief timeout while assuring them that they're allowed to do whatever they want. I hope you live long enough to see Biden lose, and then the last years of your life you've wasted. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Bernie Sanders on this issue has been fucking really disappointing, like shockingly disappointing. He's often been a voice for, he's often been a much needed voice in a sea of misinformation. He's often been a voice of moral clarity. And right now in this circumstance, like what I'm hearing from him is almost identical. Today we remember more of the victims of 5 years ago, the devastating. I don't even know what Felix is responding to. I'm talking about like how he has presented himself in this entire structure. Now, what do I mean by this? We had Ofer Kassif on the stream, right? He's an Israeli Knesset member who was suspended for 45 days. And if you recall, he told us on this broadcast that he tried to actively reach out to Bernie Sanders and try to get him to push for a ceasefire even before October 7 happened, to actively talk about what was going on in Israel. And his team refused to have a conversation with him. Okay? It's just very, very, very sad to see him have the similar positions of like the American State Department on this issue. He's always been like a J Street guy. You know, I feel like he's always had a more soft Zionist liberal approach to Israel. But in this circumstance, I really thought that he would be a voice of moral clarity and say this is completely and utterly unacceptable. Which is crazy because, you know, like I said, there are people that are literally putting their lives on the line and their freedom on the line inside of Israel that are more outspoken about the violence than Bernie Sanders is in America. Like, what are you doing? You're 800 years old. Anyway, it's fine. I don't even want to talk about it, but this one, I don't know why Felix responded to this. I was talking about the original thing he said. We must remain committed to fighting all forms of bigotry, anti-Semitism, intolerance, racism, and xenophobia. There's nothing wrong with him saying this, obviously. I'm more so referencing what Bernie Sanders said on the floor. You know? Where this is the one where he said it's we can have a humanitarian pause. That's what Felix was referencing too. The time is now for a humanitarian pause in the bombing so that we desperately needed aid can get to the men, women,
kept
and
losing
children
this
of Gaza
weekly
and
until I
hostages
started
we
going
need
only
to release. We
worm
must avert a total
Joe
and horrific
Boa and
humanitarian
rolling loads when Joe
disaster
Boa
here
unlocks,
speaks on the
bro.
floor,
I've
where he
been rooting
basically
for Joe Boa for the
reiterates
past two
same exact
games.
position. This is the position of the State
So
Department.
it
This
is
like John
RNG based
Kirby saying
then.
this shit. Like, he can't even get himself to say ceasefire. And then the unanimously adopted like provision as well. Being raided. Monka S. Oh, Rob, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream.
Yeah, the worst weekly was the fucking guinea fowl weekly. Remember the guinea fowl weekly?
Anyway. What's the difference between a ceasefire and a humanitarian pause? A ceasefire is supposed to be permanent. A humanitarian pause is just a pause in a cessation of the bombing for like a very short period of time, so that like I guess humanitarian aid can get into
How can
Gaza.
I forget?
The whole squad's collective response to the genocide has been lukewarm at best. When are we going to collectively agree to quit giving credence to SOCDEMs? First of all, there is no alternative. And secondly, you're fucking wrong. That's not true at all. What are you talking about? Rashida Tlaib is a part of the squad. Ilhan Omar is a part of the squad. Okay? Even Ayanna Pressley has had a pretty decent fucking take on this shit. Get the fuck out of here. It's ridiculous. Cori Bush has had a great response to this. There's like 13 people in Congress that have been loudly and proudly and aggressively pushing back against the silliness of America championing ethnic cleansing. And they're literally in the crosshairs of everyone. They're trying to use this as an opportunity. That's not even true. 9 members literally just voted in favor of Palestinians. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there are still people out there that are aggressively pushing for a ceasefire. Dumbass tankies. Jagmeet Singh, wait, what did you say? Dumbass tankies? Jagmeet Singh has been calling for a ceasefire to his credit, and then you said dumbass tankies? Who are the dumbass tankies? What are you talking about?
Jagmeet Singh is Canadian.
I feel like that person is referencing, first of all, the whole like tanky shit is so stupid.
Yeah, that person is confused. He didn't just stream with NL. He streamed with Hassan.
Anyway,
and Hassan was there. I think
to,
Hassan probably organized that stream. Scroll
I
Temper.
don't know what else to say about this. I just here. We'll
it
get
was
back to Al
AOC,
Jazeera.
Jagmeet Singh,
has rejected
and Hassan organized
that
it.
has been adopted by the
I remember
United
NL
Nations.
was there
What
too. I
will
think
they do? You have 22 Arab countries that are completely impotent in front of this mass killing on an industrial scale against fellow Arabs. You know, if, God forbids, Belgium was bombed the way Gaza is bombed, I'm sure the Europeans won't be, talking about let's condemn this, that, and the other thing. They would be doing something about it. What is the Arab world going to do now that Israel basically spat on their resolution? Will they cut relations with Israel? Will they stop the normalizations? Will they recall their ambassadors? Will they do something a bit more with their leverage? And they have a lot of leverage with the United States and the European Union.
How do you move the entire inventory without unequipping items?
This is their region.
The arrows.
When we talk about widening the war, it means widening the war to Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Egypt, and so on. This is their region. And these are their fellow Arabs. What are they going to do now? Continue with normal relations?
But it doesn't work if you don't have
Israeli
space.
Ambassadors dancing their way through Arab capitals? So now that they have a United Nations General Assembly resolution, the Arab world needs to act upon this symbolic victory of theirs, because this has to be applicable to something. It's certainly not implementable because it doesn't have the power to do so. It's not United Nations Security Council. So the Arab member states, starting with them, they need to do something with other world powers in order to advance their agenda. And their agenda is not aggressive. Their agenda is peace. Their agenda is ceasefire. Their agenda is humanitarian assistance. Their agenda is the Palestinian lives are not less important than Israeli lives.
Right.
And just quickly on that, if you allow me, today, October 27, probably, I hope not, but probably we have passed in terms of killing.
Exactly. Oil-producing Arab nations need to do something like cut off all the oil supply. I mean, they did this one time, and it fucking caused a tremendous amount of economic issues for the Western world. They did this. They actually did do this. Except, in order to never have that happen again, America has very actively normalized relations with the Gulf states. Yeah, they did it in 1973. Now, they've actively normalized relations with Gulf states and all of the oil producers in general. And I think that it is unlikely for them to do such a thing again.
Yes, as I said, Dareen, we learned that clashes are taking place now between Palestinian fighting groups, specifically the military wing of Hamas, the Al-Qassam Brigade, and we received some videos from the Hamas military wing when they fired a Cornet rocket towards Israeli tanks who are moving across the border line in the eastern side of the Gaza city. Still, the Israeli air strikes are intensifying in Gaza City, in residential areas, and in Beit Lahia, which is a small town in the northwest of the Gaza Strip, at the border, the northern border.
Yeah, but that unequips all of them, Fallen Empire.
And tell us more about how Al-Qassam Brigades
that
have
unequips
been
all of them.
Responding to what sounds like is a limited.
But yeah, there is an arrow that you can use, and you pull that arrow,
and
and all the items will be in the bin.
Well, we have been listening and watching the Israeli declarations and statements that they have been destroying the infrastructure of the Palestinian fighting groups. But in terms of
yeah, I thought so too, but then without equipping them,
extending the range of
I wasn't sure.
The Qassam brigades are still able to fire barrages of rockets every now and then, and even extending the range of the fire of their rockets. They reach Tel Aviv, Rishon, Ashdod, and even including the short range.
You said the U.S. is now the number one oil producer in the world by a massive margin. It's not the 1970s anymore, just FYI. Yeah, except as we saw, in the aftermath of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, our oil producers, despite our strategic reserves, can very simply still go along with the OPEC Plus decisions and not fucking accommodate with additional supply and continue to also sell to the rest of the world rather than to keep it internally inside of the United States. They export our oil. So that's the problem. The problem isn't that like we physically do not have the oil here. The problem is we have the oil here. The problem is the price of oil once the supply of oil is shut down. Obama removed the federal ban on exporting U.S. oil, so we basically pay the market price even though it is our oil. Yeah. So I don't know if there was a OPEC Plus decision again that greatly increased the price of oil, if our market forces would take advantage of that situation. Well, I don't have to speculate. They have taken advantage of that situation. They did it. They did it. They literally did it.
Yeah,
this
if you don't have that
year,
fucking
these past 2 years. So
rat in this game, you can't win it.
From the Israeli declaration,
I'm saying that's
they
it.
are
That's my
carrying
take.
out limited operations, but these limited operations could be extended and even moved from a place to another.
It's
this
true.
Could be a preparation for also a ground operation, but still, this is a war, and we expect lots of tricks and lots of games, as they call it. The war is, some of the rules or the tactics of the war are tricks and hoaxes, and still we need more time to understand what is the Israeli plan and what are the fighting groups doing at this moment, at what point they reach both sides in the exchange of the fire.
Okay, Safat, thank you so much for the time being. Safat Al-Kahlout reporting for us from the north of Gaza. Oh, and just to bring you an update, in fact, so that's the latest picture from Gaza. And
well done, Montage. You already are coping because you win. Okay, we're doing one more. Okay, and then I'm probably going to do a different game while we play. We could actually just do some Elden Ring after this, I guess. I still want to stream, but I still want to watch at the same time. I just don't think I can actually play Elden Ring.
As well as the east of Burej, and that violent clashes are taking place now. And also
I don't think we can do Elden Ring.
Saying that 6 anti-armor
no, I'm
missiles
not playing
were
scary
fired
games. What is this? Atmospheric horror, psychological horror. No, thank you.
Israeli army vehicle.
I worry that the more they fucking
Turtle Pack. Okay, let's go. Turtle Pack, get in. I'm fucking sick of this weekly.
push back, the more they don't allow the IDF to continue their tanks,
So these are the latest lines
the more the bombing will get.
I'm not saying I'm going to
intense.
win, but I'll get further than normal.
Well, the White House is saying that they'll continue discussions with Israel
It's
about
not
the
very
manner
spooky.
of any ground offensive.
I'm not playing a horror
American
game, bro.
aircraft carrier strike groups have been deployed to the Eastern Mediterranean and around 900 forces to the Middle East. But the Pentagon spokesman says that the U.S. is focused on preventing a larger conflict.
Look, I'm not going to get into hypotheticals, and as I made very clear, we have no interest in getting into a conflict with Iran. Again, what we're focused on is regional security and stability in the region. We're focused on defeating ISIS in Iraq and Syria and supporting
Not very
our
Halloween
partners
of
there.
you.
But if and when our forces are attacked, we will take necessary steps to protect them and send a strong deterrent message. I don't have any new deployments to announce at this time. As you know, we have positioned the USS Ford Carrier Strike Group in the Eastern Mediterranean. We're sending the USS Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group to the U.S. Central Command region, in addition to deploying approximately 900 forces into the Middle East to provide air defense capabilities. Importantly,
all
those
right, we've got
forces
2 spaces
are not
open.
going to Israel.
I'm running
they
a
do
1-minute
not have
ad
anything
break.
to do with the situation there.
While we wait for
they
the
are
2 spaces to be
force
filled.
protection purposes, and again,
Fuck
to provide
this
us
weekly.
with options to defend our forces.
Famously, when U.S. military,
Look, we've even got
when U.S.
Tamana
military are
involved.
deployed into a region
Even
where there's
Tamana's
active
in.
conflict going on, nothing bad ever happens, and then U.S. is pulled into war. That
One space
famously has
open.
never happened in any of our prior conflicts. Actually, you know what? Pretty much all of them, with the exception of World War II, I would say. In that situation, we were hit first in Pearl Harbor. This is literally Vietnam. This is literally Vietnam, dude.
And we plan to keep it that way.
Well, we can now speak to Lawrence Korb. He's a former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense. He's joining us from Delaware. Thanks for your time with us on Al Jazeera. I'd just like to ask you about the Pentagon for just a moment, Larry Korb. And the development of the day is that the U.S. has said that it's attacked 2 facilities in Syria used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, as well as Iran-backed groups. I mean, what do you make of the timing of all this? And is this a dangerous escalation?
All right, got 16. Let's go.
Well, the United States had to respond because recently there have been attacks on American forces in Syria
is this really...
and Iraq, which have been there long before this war started. And while nobody was killed, we had about 20 people who were injured. And this is not different. We've done this before. The last retaliation we had was in March. And the Pentagon has been very careful to separate these things from the war
I'm scared too, I suck at SAP, doesn't matter.
The fact of the matter is
no one's going to dunk on you for being bad at SAP unless you're me.
I gotta pee.
Because you have to dunk on streamer. If you dunk on anybody else, fuck them. Only I can dunk on everyone else, and I won't dunk on you, Tamana.
They were preparing them to invade for
yeah, like for example, I'm losing now, but it's entry level. Okay, of course, I'm going to get that life back.
With Iran, for example?
Well, we should always be worried. But we have substantial forces in the region. I mean, I'm a retired Navy captain. I can tell you 1 aircraft carrier and the other 5 vessels are enough to wage a major war. We're going to have 2 there. We have hundreds of ground-based airlines there.
Bro, summon build is always mid.
On call. So if, in fact, it should deteriorate.
There's Hippo in his pack. You can't have someone build an and if you want to counteract Hippo, you have to have what?
By deploying
fucking skunk.
Fleets, Larry Korb, by deploying these fleets and by deploying the soldiers, is the aim here?
I like summon build. Yeah, I like it too.
Protect Israel, the US.
But I just know it's not like look at the top players. I'd like to find one summon build they make.
To countries and
the fucking chicken got nerfed. So did Turkey,
well,
actually.
Trying to protect Israel and guarantee their security by preventing this war from expanding. For example, Hezbollah getting
what the fuck?
much more substantially
God, okay, maybe I just have fallen off from SAP.
Part of Gaza, or the Iranians.
It's very possible.
Actually, using any of their armed forces. But the fact of the matter is, we're hoping this overwhelming show of force will deter Iran from broadening this conflict, and also ensure that the Israelis will be able to, do their task of destroying Hamas once and.
That is certainly what the Israelis have said that they aim to do since the beginning of this war on October the 7th. From what you've seen so far,
here we go again. Maybe I just fell off. No, I'll accept if I fell off. Maybe everybody's too good now.
When it comes to its military and strategic objectives,
I'll accept it.
For those of you who say, I mean, we've been talking about how recruitment is ass because it's been too long since 9/11, so why not start new shit in the Middle East? No, brother. America will not improve its recruitment capabilities by simply saying we're going to World War III against Iran and at the behest of Israel. There would need to be another 9/11 for that to happen. It would have to be very clearly, it would have to be a very clear 9/11 to Electric Boogaloo done by like Iran for America to have the same level of recruitment post 9/11. Okay? Ominous, I know, and I hope it doesn't happen.
Everybody would have been dumbfounded that the Israelis had not launched a ground attack in 3 weeks. So we're hoping that the bombing will weaken them enough.
I thought October 7th was 29/11. No, we're talking about
and their supporters
that's
willing,
Israel
to negotiate. But by and large, Israel has fought Hamas previously, and they just left them weakened. But
on American soil. I'm talking about an attack happening on American soil.
Hamas will have to go. The question is, can we do that without tremendous civilian casualties?
Yes, 7,000 killed so far in the Gaza Strip, but we'll have to leave it there. Lawrence Korb, we thank you for your time with us on Al Jazeera. We'll bring in Patty Culhane, joining us from Washington, D.C. for Patty,
the lack of people joining
more about the U.S.'s role in this conflict.
Well, it's been very interesting. We've seen, as you just saw in your interview with General Ryder, we've seen National Security spokesman John Kirby come out and really try to stress that this is not something that the U.S. is doing, that they'll leave it all up to the Israeli military to explain its missions and what it's doing in Gaza and the occupied West Bank. Now, so they're trying to put that distance between what's happening on the ground and the U.S., but I think that's impossible to do unless you look back at the last couple of weeks of U.S. support. First, they said immediately after that they were going
I'm going to do it tomorrow because the news that
immediately.
Hassan started with was just so serious that I just couldn't go and play Elden Ring then. I needed to watch, you know what I mean? And absorb.
Bear hug embrace of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and he offered full-throated support.
But tomorrow we're probably going to do Elden Ring very early.
I believe it was for days after the October 7th attack.
We can come back from this.
And then we saw they sent a 3-star general to Israel to help advise them on what it would be like to do close combat. This is a general who was close up in the fight against the Islamic State, and he was in the lead in Fallujah, so he knows exactly the difficulties that go with close combat. And then we had the Biden administration.
So tomorrow I'll be wearing and grounded.
In additional
I don't know if we're going to get grounded tomorrow. It might be too early for everybody else because I have to leave at 9 when South Africa starts playing. You won't get grounded from me.
Humanitarian aid
and Katyan also can't join.
Working on it, but you have seen this president fully back this prime minister, this war cabinet, this country doing what they're now doing.
Right.
I like that we act like Israel is operating outside of like U.S. confines. If America said tomorrow you're done, no more fucking bombing, Israel would have to stop. Okay, they wouldn't do it excitedly. There might even be some retaliation to American authorities.
What are copyright laws in South Africa? Could I stream the match? Are you kidding?
But they would have to stop.
No, of course I can't stream the match.
The idea that like Israel could operate in the violent ways that it wants to without American supervision.
I'm still on an American website.
Okay.
Brain injury, which can be very, very serious.
Also, I'm going to watch it with my family.
The Pentagon didn't want to put that information front and forward because
have you seen the
polls,
leader of the ruling party in
polls,
Spain? Yeah.
And 8 out of 10 Americans say they are very concerned that this is going to lead to a broader conflict. So we saw these increasing attacks.
Yeah, my stream would be taken down so fast your head would spin. Exactly,
2,500 in Iraq, and they were just adding in 900 more. So
would I get
prosecuted? Sure where they're going to go, when they're going to land
in my country?
But we did
Probably not.
We've
got like really based like free speech laws on copyrighted material. Okay.
2 surgical strikes, as they called it,
but
in
would
Syria.
I be banned on Twitch indefinitely?
Really
yes.
About casualties,
would I lose all of my like a large fraction of my income, which is Twitch? Yes, I would.
And I want to also point out there's something going on in Washington that I think might be notable. So oftentimes,
what animals do we have available now?
I've covered the White House for a very, very long time. Kimberly Halkett does a great job at it now. But oftentimes through both Republican and Democratic presidents, what I saw happening when they wanted to send a message, particularly when it comes to Israel, they never do it publicly. But all of a sudden you start to see stories planted in the local media.
You might call this cheese. I just call this waiting for better animals.
Behind the scenes. The reason they do that is they want to tell people that they're trying to go in this direction, but they can still deny it because all of these sources are off the record. But we have the Washington Post coming out. These very, very good journalists of the Washington Post, very plugged in. 5 sources saying that they have urged Israel not to do a full-on.
It's not that some sports are okay to stream and others aren't. It's that the streamer has gotten permission to stream that sport. Okay? The streamer specifically has gotten permission to stream that sport, or the company that owns the copyright for that game, which, for example, would be Supersport for South Africa, has given permission. It's all about permissions. That's why S-Fan can like fucking stream and like football shit because he's gotten permission. He's gotten sponsors.
I think that under American supervision is one aspect of it, but I'll be honest with you. I think that the Russian invasion of Ukraine has also shown the rest of the world that like American allies can kind of operate outside of the boundaries that America places
maybe
them
I just
under
have
as well.
fallen off. I think I just have fallen off of SAP.
It's proven to many other countries that America's influence
it's been me
is
the
waning.
entire time.
specifically like what Russia can do, whatever the fuck it wants, pretty much. And as long as they have Chinese backing on the side, all of the sanctions and whatnot that they can like condition themselves against, especially if they have some kind of like centralized planning.
Oh, you already got the men in perk.
They
okay,
can
well,
just
then I'll have to,
get away with doing whatever
yeah,
the fuck they
fallen
want
off,
to.
like, for real.
Right? So that's one important lesson that has been learned. And the other is that America's allies can also do whatever they want in retaliation, even if the United States doesn't consider what they're doing to be appropriate. That's why you see, for example, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline explosion. Obviously, like, they claimed it was Russia. It was fucking ridiculous. But the Crimean Bridge, for example, and numerous other extensions from the Ukrainian side that America will slowly and subtly, maybe like a week after, maybe 2 weeks after, will say, hey, we didn't actually endorse that.
Yeah, true.
And you see it. You see it in the news. Like, they'll turn around and go,
I think I did fall off.
yeah, we didn't
Like,
think
this
that
is
was
insanely
appropriate,
bad for me.
actually. Like, we're telling the Ukrainians to dial it back a little bit. It's very disturbing. So, ultimately, they can, like, America's allies, I think, have a lot more leeway in the same way that Israel has more leeway, I think. Especially because, like, they have a very, hands-off, like, blank check mentality when it comes to, in Ukraine, defending Ukraine, and when it comes to
I won that one.
Israel, allowing Israel to do ethnic cleansing, right? Morally, these are not the same. I'm not making a moral equivalence. I'm simply talking about like what America's position is in either of these conflicts, right? America's allies can kind of get away with more than they than what
I don't
America
be a
thinks
cheese,
is okay.
but I sort of do want
And
a
I
cheese.
think that America's enemies can also
see, if I was evil,
get away with whatever the fuck they want to
I
do.
think I am evil though. I think I am. Fuck it. Like, do you know what? When you're not winning, just cheese.
Do you think Biden is getting reelected after this bullshit? I don't know. His approval rating continues to fucking dip dramatically, especially in the way that he has mishandled the situation, and especially amongst younger people. And
do it.
The reality is, I mean, we're still out. We're still out. A lot can happen. A lot can change in this time frame. Think about it.
Monique
It's
says you're
2023.
done.
COVID had not happened
Who's
at
Monique?
this point last time around. Okay? Think about that.
I don't want to assume it's a particular.
Think about
who I
how
think
much
it is.
COVID changed. Think about what COVID changed dramatically.
Sorry, quoting a dumb commercial. Okay.
Think about how different this last election would have been if it wasn't for COVID. So the reason why I mention that is not because I think that COVID-2 is coming. The reason why I mention it is because that in that time frame between now and the election, a lot can happen. He's a dumb boomer who thinks that none of us care if a genocide is carried out right in front of us. Like every other boomer who thinks control of TV is all you need. Yeah. I think that this is where American libertarian principles on free speech, for the most part, actually end up biting America in the ass, because there are outlets out there who are covering it, and there are people out there who are seeing exactly what's going on, and it's like unavoidable for them. Partially, that plays a role. I think that the fact that every single fucking person has a camera on their phone
stupid for
and
like
is able to show their side definitely plays
putting
a
the
role.
melon right
The
here,
fact
but
that
like
there
I
is,
really my RNG has
a
been
lot
terrible.
more pure and uncut cope. This has always been how we operated with allies. We've always done this bullshit. The difference is this time around in the case with Ukraine is that it's much more broadly broadcasted because none of this actually harms our power. I think that our influence on the world is waning. If you think that that's not the case, I don't know what to tell you.
No, it
I
is.
feel like our allies, you're right about letting our allies get away with whatever the fuck they want. I mean, obviously, if you have any understanding of what American history looks like, American involvement in Latin American countries, for example, has always been awful.
Yeah, Rip Bozo go back to back.
Has always been horrific, right? Incredible atrocities have been committed at the hands of fascists that we armed and trained in pretty much every fucking Latin American country, every South American country. So So on that front, you are correct. But I think that those are deliberate acts. Those are deliberate acts. Anyway, I do think that the most important facet of this is that, like, in the past, I don't, or not in the past, but at least like in the period where the USSR fell and neoliberalism was basically calcified as the old front of political power in the U.S. is still operating in a Cold War mentality, and it's so unfortunate. I think that neoliberalism in the aftermath of the dissolution of the USSR made America, like, for a brief moment in time, the singular force of power in the world.
Yeah,
and when that happened,
I fell off.
When that happened, America operated with no scrutiny whatsoever. They operated with impunity, and in that time frame, we called all the fucking shots, and we dealt a lot of death all around the world. And I do think that that is changing. I think that that's different. It is getting closer to, I guess, a Cold the Cold War world. It's more, not ideological differences, but there is still there's more power out there now than there ever was. Yeah, the time frame between the 90s and the 2000s.
I'll fall back one day.
Not even
one
the
day.
2000s, but like the 2010s up to the 2010s was like just a singular force. America is the hegemonic power, and there's no counter to
Dude,
it whatsoever.
Hassan's fault.
Everybody has to
Just
come
blame
and pull
Hassan.
their weight and fight alongside ourselves. Okay? And now that's changing, and I think that it's impossible not to recognize that. Now, part of the reason why more people are recognizing the devastating side of being on the devastating side of being against America and their allies is also because I think material conditions are worsening in the Western world as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably plays a very significant role in people recognizing the impact of America's wars as well. As the contradictions heighten, people become more aware of the negative outcomes of our imperialist agenda. There's also a lot of reactionary sentiment, and that's how fascism thrives in this volatile situation as well. Do not misunderstand me. Recruit numbers are down, and I don't think another attack on the U.S. like 9/11 now will spurn the same level of blind rage and patriotism. Think there's too many millennials alive that still remember how fucked they got, bending the knee to expanding the surveillance state and failed campaigns in the Middle East. I don't know, man. I think Americans adopted anti-Islamic sentiment like a fucking glove, dude. They were waiting, like an old jersey that they haven't worn but fits them perfectly. Like, and it wasn't us that got hit, you know what I mean? And we still were like, oh, fuck yeah, I love this shit. Come on, dude. Global Day of Jihad. Global Day of Jihad.
Exactly.
Remember that? Remember that was like a big thing? People were like operating off of some random like memory TV.
That take is an incredibly like secular white person take, to think that like I don't feel like there's a single Muslim in America that would have that take. Is what I'm saying.
Schools closed as a day. Yeah, schools closed as a safety measure.
Take was that like people would not be reactionary if 9/11 happened again, and like people would not like people would just not be as reactionary and would see through the State Department bullshit. You're a Muslim in America? If you just laughed LMAO. Yeah, right, exactly. It is a very like white Christian take, like white Christian liberal leaning leftist take. They 100% would, and they would all jump on the bandwagon. And I see it in Hassan's chat, as I've said. The one thing I can't stand, very on the same level of transphobia. It's like the two things that trigger me the most when I see it in Hassan's chat, because like the thing is that the difference with transphobia is when someone's transphobic in the chat, everyone dunks on them. when someone is Islamophobic, people are just not as perceptive to Islamophobia. It slips through the cracks when people are reading it. And a lot of the times, like, I know Muslim chatters do feel like that happen. And I've seen it. I've seen like Muslim chatters be like, people are being like directly Islamophobic in this chat. Like, yeah.
Hostages and result in
saying
excessive
like
bloodshed.
Islam is like a violent religion and that it's Islam that is at fault, when no, it's not. It's never a religion itself that's the problem. It's always conservatives who weaponize the religion to enact their own political beliefs.
They were talking about on Al Jazeera about how Israel has no plan on what it wants to do with Gaza. That was very important. The reason why they released
and
that,
in some instances
and the
they
reason
are
why
just
the other guy
Islamophobic and
from the
can't
State
identify
Department,
it.
like
Yes.
the weapons guy on the State Department, literally was like, "I'm done. I can't do
But
this
look,
anymore."
I want you to understand, like, I don't have this particular take because I am someone who manages to see through things, and I've got like incredible perception of like people's character. I grew up with 40% of the kids in my school were Muslim, okay? Of course I'm not going to be Islamophobic. It's not the case for most people. And I'm not saying that they are in any way right in their Islamophobia. This is just material analysis at this point. It's saying, of course, when you're not exposed to people in the religion, you are going to be more susceptible to the propaganda against the people that are Muslim, right?
Doesn't matter. Are you kidding me?
And that's why, yes, the US would react in the exact same way.
The beating heart of the Middle East, as far as we understand it, and as far as we care about it. That's crazy. There will never be a moment where America will drop its support of Israel. They will go to World War III for Israel. They will
Susceptible to
never
other
drop.
rising, exactly.
Like, there are points that there are lines that America will not cross for Ukraine. Okay? Ukraine is of national security interest, is of economic interest for the United States of America and also the West. This much is true. But let's be real. It's not like they implemented a no-fly zone, for example, over Ukraine. They could have done that, but that would have led to going to war, going to active conflict with and state war between NATO states, nuclear superpowers, against another nuclear superpower,
Exactly,
which is marginal in comparison to obviously America's awesome military might, but still a nuclear state nonetheless, Russia, right? They did not do that. They did not go into war with Russia. There were lines that they would not cross. I think that similar issues exist with China, for example. China is the most important trade partner of the United States of America. So there are lines that America will not cross to defend Taiwan, even though Taiwan is a very important strategic asset for America as a cudgel against Taiwan. However, no such consideration exists as it pertains to Israel. Israel is a nuclear state. Okay, they have nukes. For those of you who don't know, it's a secret. It's hush-hush, but they do. They have nukes. And also on top of that, its enemies do not, for the most part, as far as we understand it. So there is no line that America won't cross to defend Israel. I think in the eyes of the American State Department, in the eyes of the American government, Israel is seen as an extension of...
Doesn't surprise me.
Israel is seen as an extension of the United States, as an extension of our interests. Okay? It's not a colony. No, it's a state. I don't think saying Israel is a colony of the United States actually is correct. There's never been a situation where a colony has gotten carte blanche, blank checks, while the people living in that colony had better amenities. It's not even a client state, guys. It's just a state. Okay? No, Pakistan is a client state. South Korea is a client state. Japan is a client state. Israel is not a client state. It is just a state. It's a state.
I wasn't born in the US. Growing up, I felt like I had to conform as was I possibly could despite being white. My parents still experience bullshit today and created distance between myself and my family. You wouldn't be able to tell I was an immigrant. It's weird, man. Yeah. Like, people... Xenophobia is a very powerful political tool. Pakistan mentioned. Oh, Pakistani chatters. As soon as Pakistan is mentioned. Oh, they're like the Brazilians.
Look at the way the United States treats Puerto Rico versus the way the United States treats Israel.
Bro, when South Africa's mentioned, I'm like, oh no, fuck, stop mentioning South Africa, please, please. I don't want South Africa to be mentioned. Please, stop. Please. I know it's misinterpreted West bullshit. Please, stop.
How is Israel miscalculating the blowback so much? I think that they're not miscalculating the blowback. I think they don't care. I think they want to use the blowback as a way to continue ethnic cleansing. Okay? That's what I think. I think that they are not miscalculating the blowback. I think that the Israeli government and those within the Israeli government recognize that there is blowback and that is a necessity to engage in full-scale ethnic cleansing in the Gaza
Whenever
Strip
Hassan
and
mentions
annexation
Bangladesh, I throw
follow
confetti.
the full-scale ethnic cleansing
Whenever
in the Gaza
Hassan
Strip.
references South Africa and it's like a modern-day
will there be global terrorists
turn off
outside
the
of Hamas
broadcast.
as a consequence of this? Absolutely.
Because I can't stand the
that never
chat.
stopped America from engaging in its endless war in the Middle East. That didn't stop America from invading Iraq. That didn't stop America from invading and occupying Afghanistan. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because all of that additional...
Next time you see Hassan mention like South Africa, modern day South Africa, or like a South African, just notice all of the papelas in the chat. And it just tells you everything you need to know. Like, it pisses me off because it's like, bro, you motherfuckers are American. Why are you papelaing some South African? Even if they are like an insanely racist piece of shit. Like, it does always bother me that there's this, like, stance of, like assuming everyone else South Africa is, like, yeah. When Hassan's mentions Greece, I just laugh, true. Anyway. Also, like, the documentaries on modern-day South Africa are always... There's always so much, like... racism baked into the takes that it's very difficult for me to watch, and it's something I have to like explain in a point-by-point measure. Like people saying in the chat, oh wow, these people have cell phones. I just want to fucking cry. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, of course they have fucking cell phones. Like, well done, Torin. Okay, new game. Alright, we have to do a new game now. I have to do a new game. I've been owned. I have fallen off Supported Pets. I'm no longer a supported streamer.
We're seeing still more explosions to the right, to the left of your screen in Gaza.
I more like get fucked. Okay, what do we want to play?
So we are in southern Israel, right along the border with Gaza, and if you look
do we want to play?
That is black. That is the Gaza
I don't think I'm going to do
Strip.
City Skylines right now.
About an hour ago,
do some
for 2 hours. We saw some of the most intense bombardments.
Sure, Azia.
Certainly
I hope you will too.
This war, but
I'm not playing Baldur's
Gate.
Gate.
Bombardments I've seen in wars in the Middle East. This was
we could do some backpack
2
battles.
Hours, a sustained campaign of tank fire, artillery.
I also wanted to play one of the
planes
Nancy Drew games, but you guys have to tell me what's a good Nancy Drew game to play.
Is cut off from the world. It was cut off before. And now it is cut off from communications. It was one of the last things that the people inside Gaza had.
Oh, are you guys getting coggers?
They can't communicate among themselves, and they can't communicate with the world. Hamas.
You ask your friend? Yeah, what's a good one? The Nancy Drew speedrunner, that's sick.
potentially the start of something major.
Will you test Skylines 2? No, I will not.
And Hamas's statement anticipating that this could have been the start, and this came from the political wing, which is based outside of the Gaza Strip, saying if Netanyahu decides to enter
What
Gaza,
is a good Nancy Drew game to play,
tonight,
though?
The resistance is ready, and the remains of his soldiers will be swallowed up by the land.
We could do Nancy Drew now,
so
actually.
Clearly, Hamas sensed that what has just happened here over the last several hours was different.
Oh, Nancy Drew game's scary. I thought they were just murder mystery.
Because it is dark.
Isn't it a war crime to just cut off communication, my friend? That is one of
Oh,
many
is it actually
different war
scary?
crimes that Israel has been engaging in for the past 20 days. Remember, okay, for the past 20 days they've shut off all food.
Oh, that means shape rotator?
Power,
I mean, like, there are jump scares.
all
Oh,
water.
no, they aren't scary at all. I'm getting mixed messages.
The Palestinians' need for survival. That
I
was
like
a war crime.
I like puzzle
They've
games.
hit hospitals.
I thought they were like mystery
They've
puzzle
hit
games.
ambulances. They've hit the families of journalists. They've killed journalists. It's one.
None of them are murder
the
mystery. Oh
many
God!
different war crimes that Israel is engaging.
If you're a
in.
child, they might be
And
scary.
It's fucking
Okay, well,
wild that they're. Not
I do
only
get
doing
scared
it,
of things that children get scared of, so I don't know.
but they're also openly saying that they're doing it because their enemies are subhuman. They're animals.
They are mystery puzzle games.
And it's wild.
Oxenfree. Okay, let's have
Let's
have a look through. Let's have a look through.
Okay. The American government is like watching all of it and championing it and saying no red lines for Israel. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Okay. And here in the Western world, the message that is the most prescient is like what some fucking random college students are doing on campus. Okay? We're doing campus politics.
Oxenfree looks really good.
We're picking our fucking battles against like our own personal pet projects. Like people are using this as an
I'm pivoting the content. Okay, we're done with political coverage. Let me just download this. You guys can chill in BRB for a second. Let's do something different before I go.